Hey, 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 fam! Welcome, everybody. Apparently, this is the last debate night, so we might be our last time doing this for a while. Everybody say hello to our returning champion, Mr. David Kitsak.
Rah, rah, rah. I'm returning now. Not a newbie
Probably most
anymore.
requested guest ever. Dude, I was telling him when we were in Florida together, I was like, if you ever want like a self-esteem boost, read the comments of the show that you were on because, dude, everyone loved you.
I appreciate that. That's super sweet. I had a great time. It was easy. It was like such a fun convo and the time went by so fast. It was like a pretty long stream too, but yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Yes, WakaCon was super fun. So yeah, we were in Florida for WakaCon. It was a
Yeah,
good
that was amazing. That was a lot
Yes,
of fun.
another one. Hey to everybody in the chat. Sherry is here. Leah B. Esteban. Popcorn, my favorite little popcorn. Simpin, Cody, Jeremy, everybody. So Chris, of course. Sorry if I'm missing anybody. Chris. Yeah, I would say I'm excited. Okay, so the question is, are you excited? Because how excited can you really be for the Republican debates?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a snooze fest. And then when somebody says anything interesting, it seems like they get attacked in the media right away. So I don't know. I know a lot of people think Vivek is like kind of smarmy, and I get that. And he's like plagiarized a bunch of stuff from Obama, sure. But the things he's saying are needed to be said anyway. So it's like I just see him as like a vessel for some of the things that a lot of people are thinking in the first place.
That makes
But
sense.
we'll
By the way, sorry,
see.
parentheses. B says, David is one of my favorites that you've had on your show, Mikey. Leah says, David is such a hero. He's been doing some truly amazing work. True. Jeremy says, this is going to be about as fun as shaving my balls with a potato peeler.
Yeah, you're dead on. You're dead on.
Ass, thank you so much for. Wait, did I just call you ass? That was. I didn't mean to. AS. I'm sure your name is not ass. I'm in the UK and should be asleep, but would love to watch. Thank you. We've UK people here. So the debate starts in like 20 minutes, but I figured we would need to get some ranting out first. So we started
Yes.
a little bit early. So yeah, what I wanted to say is I feel like just from the times we've talked and stuff, I feel like you're somebody who kind of is not all about worshiping politicians. Like I feel like I don't even really know who exactly you're for in this, if anyone, which is what I like.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes I'm intentionally vague about it because I think there's already enough like hero worship on every side of the issue, you know what I mean? Obviously there except for maybe Biden. Biden doesn't have very many like tried and true like standby fans. He has people that like basically defend him by saying how bad the other people are. But I would say for this moment in time, the way I kind of see it is that I would be excited about a second Trump term only because he's not bound by needing to be reelected, needing to do so. I feel like he would go in there and screw stuff up, you know, in a good way, a little bit. Like I feel like he's a bull in a china shop, but like their china shop, our bull a little bit. But do I think like by the books, if I had to choose someone to like hitch my wagon to, obviously DeSantis has a huge future in politics. He's an excellent governor. He's a good speaker. He could become a little bit more personable and try to like inject some star quality. I think he did pretty well at the governor versus governor debate with Newsom.
Did so
I thought,
well. So well.
yes. And I think it takes him a minute to kind of warm up a little bit. And he's obviously a polite person because he didn't interrupt Newsom half as much as Newsom interrupted him. And then finally, towards the end, he started getting a little more brash. And I think that's where he shines. Like his best moments are criticizing the media, criticizing like tried and true narratives that people feel like are just ubiquitous everywhere. And him dispelling those is really powerful. And by contrast, I thought Newsom looked like a snake oil salesman. I mean, he just seems so slick. And that was the one of the best things DeSantis did on that debate is he called it out immediately. Like that's the best thing to do is you frame them before they even get a chance to speak. And he said he's slippery, he's sneaky, he's a good politician, he won't answer a question straight. And Newsom proceeded to do just that. So yeah, DeSantis killed it in that debate. I thought that was great.
See, this whole time I want DeSantis so badly, but I've been getting very dejected with him. I think he's been horrible this entire time. He freaking blew me away in that last one. I was not expecting it. I'm like, where has this guy been this whole time? So I'm very anxious to see what happens tonight. If he keeps doing that, I think if that guy shows up every day for the rest of this, I think he has a chance. If he's going to revert right back to Sleepy Ronnie, then no, he's done.
Yeah. And maybe it's like, maybe he's a little spectrumy because maybe he does better one-on-one versus needing to like pay attention to 4 other people that are answering questions. He gets a little like, looks to the left, looks to the right sometimes. So I think that I feel like he's going to have a better showing tonight than all the other debates besides the Newsom one, because hopefully he's coming off of that kind of momentum. And I mean, God, he really did embarrass Newsom. He needs to get a little bit more rude, I think. He needs to like kind of attack, pointed attacks at his opponents, because I think that maybe some people told him that he's kind of above it all and he doesn't need to get down in the dirt with the things and he'll kind of float to the top, But that's not going to work because, I mean, you saw, love him or hate him, Vivek had the most memorable lines from most of the last few debates. And that's because he just kind of went in, balls out, was like, I'm taking the whole RNC down with me, So, and that's admirable. We're in like a changed time. We're in a time where people want something different, So
sorry, by the way, let me hit up some of our amazing chat friends. Cody, like the snowman vibe, very festive. Let it snow. I just had to match you, Mr. Ghost.
I'm just gonna grab some more water really quick.
Grab your water. Hey, Dylan. Jeremy, believing a politician cares about you is the same thing as thinking the stripper likes your personality. Very true. Michael, how you doing, dude? I appreciate you for always being first in the comments, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate you. Hot take, and as much as I hate it, but the primary is over. Trump's got it in the bag. No, we are just getting started. Nobody's voted yet. Like, look, if DeSantis wants to go to sleep like he's been most of this time, then yes, it's over. But let's see what happens. Like, I'm not saying he's got the best chance in the world, but I want to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a process for a reason, We want it to play out.
Yes. I swear that Newsom debate, though, we saw DeSantis's balls drop and hit the floor for the first time in this campaign. And I just hope that they stay on the floor.
Yeah, 1,000%. And what a beautiful contrast with DeSantis in Florida and Newsom in California. I mean, you couldn't get a better comparison. And also, he won. I mean, even if he barely said much, DeSantis still would have won because Gavin was just gaslighting the entire audience. They're showing you guys facts and stats and figures. And he's like, oh, no, that's just not true. Don't believe your lying eyes. Listen to me. I have nice hair, So.
Yeah. He was DeSantis. He brought props. He brought freaking genderqueer. He brought the fucking illustrations of the blowjobs.
I love that so much. I was like, he brought receipts. It was like a Real Housewives reunion. It was amazing. Yeah. He was like, Exhibit A, Exhibit B, and I was living for it. I was like, yes. Because what is he supposed to say about that? And then they pan to, or they have, the split screen with Newsom, and he's just smiling and smirking and just seeming so Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. It's rough.
That's who he looks like. I knew he looked familiar.
100%. That is him. You could see him doing like the peel off skin mask in the morning and doing his affirmations, in the mirror.
By the way, parentheses to our chat friends, if you feel so inclined, help support the channel. Send in your super chats, join my locals, Patreon, whatever you feel like doing. Become a channel member. I have members. I love my members.
Do it. You gotta support.
So we were about 15 minutes away. You know what I thought would be a fun question to ask? Not just you, but all the chat friends. If you had to, you can't say none, you can't say nobody. You had to rank all the people running in order of preference, how would you rank them? So we got Trump, Nikki Haley, DeSantis, Chris Christie, and Vivek.
I'm gonna go ahead and put Christy and Nikki are competing for the bottom. Um, and for me, it would go Trump, DeSantis, Vivek, and then Christy and Nikki, I would say. But also, it's just such a weird time right now because just think about the place and we are where the main competition to the current administration is being politically and criminally pursued by the administration during an election year. That's why that kind of stuff just really, I mean, it just really blows my mind. And you know, my family leading a communist country, it's feeling very communist, it's giving very Marxist, okay? It's serving Stalin. So just for that reason
Serving,
alone, I want to be
that
like,
needs to be the name of a movie, Serving Stalin. A
serving Stalin.
romantic
Well, you know, they're not
comedy
serving food. So.
between Stalin and the cocktail waitress who stole his heart. All right, wait. Chat friends say,
shut up. That's so
Popcorn says Vivek, then Trump, DeSantis, interchange. But yeah, who's worse between Nikki Haley and Chris Christie? I think Chris Christie.
Personally, like as a character, Chris Christie for sure. I just can't forgive Haley for a time such as that we're living in now, being such a war hawk and being so like bombs over everywhere. Let's do it. You know, she's never seen a country she didn't want to invade. So to me, I don't see her foreign policy differing from Hillary Clinton's very much, to be honest. I think if she would have, you know, supported the invasion in Libya, Syria, their big ticket item is Iran and Russia. Those are the two they really want. But that's why they're fighting all these proxies around them and kind of dancing around them. But Nikki Haley is unforgivable to me. Chris Christie's a nuisance. He's like just a gross potato. Like I don't get him. Like he's so clearly put on those stage to like send jabs at Trump. And it just comes off so like desperate. It comes off like a boy that's been bullied too much and then finally feel like he has a platform and he broke the platform because he's too fat. I don't know. He's not my favorite at all.
No, he's horrible. Jeremy says, which I'm surprised you answered, Jeremy, because typically you're like the asteroid. Best least Trump, DeSantis, Vivek, Haley, Christie. Yeah. So well, mine would be DeSantis. I think Vivek is number 2 for me. I don't trust him. I feel like it would be a 50-50 shot if he would actually do the things he says if he got in office. But I'd almost be willing to take that shot. Then Trump, then Nikki Haley, and Chris Christie last.
Yeah. I would like almost, I don't know who would get us into war the least. The other thing though, DeSantis even pissed me off with this. A lot of Republicans use this point and it really irritates me, and it's not just because I'm Russian, but they say Russia's a glorified gas station. You know, it's like Russia's a gas station with nukes. I've heard that a lot on the right and the left, and that's just so disrespectful. Like, come on, like it's like Moscow alone is 1,000 years old. There's so much history and culture and all that, and you're just saying it's a glorified gas station. Like, eat a dick. That's really. I think the first person to say that was McCain. So.
That's what I was going to say. Gross. I feel like that's kind of that like generic empty politician line that I've been hearing my entire life. Like I can't. DeSantis said that. See, that's
DeSantis said it once.
Get rid of all those people giving him advice to say things like that.
Exactly. He was never
to just be like generic politician guy, and it sucks.
It really does. And you're right, though, because it all happened. It all started shifting for him when he started listening to all of these national election advisors and all of that stuff. As soon as he went national, I mean, I didn't see him miss once as a governor, honestly. Like, I don't know that he did anything that I was like, nah, I kind of disagree with that, you know, maybe. But I've seen him do some questionable things since he started running nationally, because I think a lot of people went up his ass and basically said that he's like a shoo-in and all these other things. So, yeah. But again, he probably has the greatest prospects for a political future out of any of them.
I fought a Russian boxer. You guys are pretty tough. We got all types of people here. I love it. You're tougher than I'm fighting no Russians. Are you crazy?
Unless we disagree tonight. So then it will be a bloodbath.
Yes, hopefully. I'm excited. Who the hell, does anyone know who's moderating it?
Oh no, I have no idea. I don't even know
Probably
who was
another empty person. I don't know.
I just hope they don't. I hope the first question isn't about climate change, like they did for the first Republican debate. Like that was embarrassing. It was like, did you guys have Greta Thunberg?
How dare you, Greta Thunberg?
I would be moderating this debate.
Megyn Kelly is moderating this.
Oh,
whoa! I didn't know that.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, she used to be good.
I like Megyn.
Yeah, I do too. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Did you see what Nikki Haley came out and said the other day about they asked her about children transitioning, and she was like, well, the government should stay out of it.
Hey, Nikki just dropped to the bottom of my list.
Not my kind of Republican. These ones say the government shouldn't get involved. The government is involved, so involve it for something good for once.
Yeah, no, yeah, don't let the government by any means protect American children, but go ahead and let the government fight all of these foreign wars and prioritize every other country on the planet besides our own. Like, come on, that's just pathetic. That makes me really mad. I know she's trying to appeal to like a moderate libertarian / social democrat type of base, but that's just silly. It's really silly.
God, it's terrifying too that she'd probably win if she were the nominee.
I know. I mean, obviously, I think she would be better than Biden, but still, that's not a very high bar to pass. So.
Yeah, she has a pulse. She's automatically better than Biden. She's a living, breathing, sentient human.
Yeah, her biggest threat isn't a set of stairs, you know. So like, she has some pluses going for her, I guess.
Hey, Millie, hope you're having a good stream. Foreign wars equal money for defense contractors. Transition means money for big pharma. Never interrupt the gravy train. 100%. So we've got like a little less than 10 minutes until the debate starts. Who can we talk shit about in the meantime?
Oh God, we'd have to narrow it down. There's so many. So wait, it's just going to be the 4 of it. Is Christie going to be on that stage?
Yeah,
oh my God.
So it's going to be the 3 of them, which I was hoping for, but you know, maybe he'll get hungry halfway through and go out for a snack.
Well, hopefully they, you know, reinforce that stage with like titanium beams, because that's just that's so annoying. Like, I don't understand, because they make such a fuss about the beginning of primaries being like, you need X amount of % to get on this stage and to have a voice. And then has Christie ever gotten more than 1 or 2%? I don't even know. He doesn't register on a lot of the polls that I've seen.
No, I've never even seen him included in a poll.
Yeah, that's strange. But I'm interested to see how Vivek is tonight, only because there has been some backlash towards him, which he does really well with when it comes from the left. But there's also been quite a bit of backlash on him from the right, because of a lot of the things he said were like almost verbatim things that Obama said. And I couldn't decide, maybe you can tell me what you think, but do you think, because he's this really smart person, I want to say he's one of the smartest people that's ran for president in the last decade or two, you know, he's very, very intelligent. Also, same with Ron DeSantis. I think DeSantis is obviously very highly intelligent. But I was wondering if Vivek is doing that strategically to be like, Hope and Change Obama was one of the best campaigns ever ran. You know, in 2008, that was one of the most successful, best unifying campaigns ever run on any side of the party. And I'm wondering if he's doing that almost intentionally to be like, let's take the best from that. And if people make the correlation, they do whatever. Or if he's that silly to like actually plagiarize it and think people won't notice. You know, that's what I'm kind of confused about.
No, it's definitely intentional. Like, I don't know. To me, it's just been yet another thing that makes me distrust him and think that he's phony. But actually, when we were at WalkaCon, I was talking about this with, you know, Sean Farash. He made a good point, though, that I said, I was like, Vivek gives me Obama vibes. And he was like, oh, what? Someone who could win? I'm like,
yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, it is a good point, because he could, the youth vote, which is what allegedly won the Democrats that like landslide of wins in 2022, also because of like the abortion issue, I guess, as well. but it was mobilizing the youth in reaction to the abortion issue, you know? So I think Vivek could help with that for sure. But I mean, we'll see. It also doesn't seem like he's fully running for president, you know? I feel like if he was really, really running for president, he would be criticizing Trump more too, because that would be his biggest Republican competition. But
Yeah.
he's more kind of like sidelining all that stuff, which is smart for him, because then a lot of Trump people like Vivek a lot, you know, because he hasn't put himself up against Trump really. So we'll see. It should be an
Yeah, I think
interesting
Vivek
one.
is, as much as I distrust him, I think he'd have to be my number 2. There's Trump. It's not about if he won, it's that he won't win. And I know a lot of y'all here love him, but if he's the nominee, I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. If he's the nominee, I'm going to go through every single one of you and go, I told you so, 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 and I told you so.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, I don't know. It's going to be super interesting because also 2024, 1 year, a lot can happen in 1 year. And that goes double for election years, right? Like, he was flying high early 2020, late 2019. The economy was booming. We had no wars going on, like actual wars going on, all of this stuff. And then lockdowns happened within that case. And then BLM George Floyd happened within that. Then Antifa, all of these things happened during election year that completely flipped everything upside down. And then his responses to a lot of those things were questionable. So, yeah, a lot can still happen, you know, a lot can still happen. But I feel like the harder they prosecute and persecute him, it's just going to make Teflon Don even more impervious.
I agree.
So.
Okay, so talk for a second while I pull the debate stream up and see if it's started yet. Because I am a bad multitasker.
No worries. Yeah, I'm like going through this list of all these videos I still have to do. And I'm doing like the 30-day, 30 video challenge thing.
Damn good
So,
for you. I gotta.
Yeah, today's video will be this. I'm definitely not recording another video after this, but today's video will be this, which is perfect because I was wondering which one to do today. So I'm like, yes, thank you, Mikey.
That's awesome. No, thank you so much for being here. Like, we just so everybody knows, we've only become friends somewhat recently, but he is just the greatest motherfucker in the world. Like, this is a true friend right here.
Thank you. I feel the same way too. It's like we've already known each other for a while. I know Chandler, when we were talking to Chandler in West Palm Beach, who's from like the Babylon Bee and does sketches, and she was just in that Lady Ballers movie from Daily Wire.
Wait, what?
Yes, and it's so funny because I was texting with her about
Lady Ballers.
Yes, she is, and that's so funny. You had that same reaction because I did too. Because she was like telling me, she's like, "Oh, my first movie premiere! I'm so excited." I thought she meant like just attending a movie premiere, you know what I mean? And I was like, cool. We talked for like 20 minutes until I was like, wait, you kind of buried the lead because you're in this movie? And she's like, oh, did I not make that clear? I'm like, no, you didn't. But yeah, even Chandler was like, oh, you guys just met? I thought you guys were already friends for a while. So
no, you're the greatest. And so we got to do stream, all of us.
Yeah, I would love that.
Mike telling us I told you so is actually part of Trump's 4D chess plan. I had no idea Chandler was in Lady Ballers. That's crazy.
Yeah, and she's like in the first like 5 minutes or 4 minutes too. Because
good, so I don't have to watch the rest of it.
Yeah, I watched some of it with my parents, but then they wanted to start watching the Russian news. So
sounds pretty accurate. Okay, wait, let me get this up. There's about a minute to go. So any predictions? Chat, let us know. I'm just hoping we need big DeSantis energy, not little tiny peepee DeSantis energy that we've gotten in all the other Republican debates. We need freaking slamming at Newsom, big D energy.
Yeah, well, we need big D energy. Exactly. Well, why don't we really quick rank not who we want to, but who we think is going to come out on top or like have the best performance. I don't know.
Out of the
we can like out of the people there. God, I hope Haley doesn't do too well because she's in that position.
I was gonna say Haley.
Oh, I know. Because she's
in an objective way. She's good at these.
Oh, 100%, 1,000%. She comes off presidential and like regal and all of that stuff. So yes, for sure. But I always give a little side eye to the Republicans that the Democrat media is super eager to support and endorse, you know? And she's giving me a little bit like Liz McCain energy. And yeah, so like the like MSNBC and CNN were fawning over her, you know? So I was like, interesting. So I think she will definitely be top 2 in performances. And I think Vivek will know within the first 5 minutes if it's going to be a strong night for him. And otherwise, it'll probably be between DeSantis and Haley.
I think if DeSantis, if he keeps his balls dropped and brings big D energy, I think he could win it. If not, then Trump wins. That's the only chance to upset the apple cart, I think.
Yeah, DeSantis needs to get more aggressive for sure. And that's where he shines, you know. He needs to let a little bit of his anger and a little bit of his sense of humor out because he can come off a little robotic. And then I really want him to figure out what his smiling thing
stop
is.
smiling. Just stop
I know,
smiling.
I know.
Stop.
It's so bad. I'm like, that could lose it for you, buddy, honestly. If they just get a compilation of him doing this with the teeth going back and forth, I'm like, just take one less Adderall before you go on stage. Like, don't not take any, but just take one less because you're getting a little meth job.
Former Governor Chris Christie.
Here we go.
Live on News Nation. News for all America. The lights are on. The field is set. It's game day in Alabama. And who knows what the tide will roll in.
News Nation. Is that what the promo is on?
Welcome to the fourth and final Republican presidential primary debate of
I don't
the
buy
year,
this is gonna be the
live from
final one, by the way.
University of Alabama. I'm Megyn Kelly, host of the Megyn Kelly Show podcast on SiriusXM.
Girl power.
I'm Aliana Johnson with the Washington Free Beacon.
And I'm Elizabeth Vargas with News Nation, and we are live on News Nation and the CW. It is make or break time for the candidates
CW.
on this
Not
stage
the
right now,
CW.
with
We're
primaries
live on
coming
the
weeks
CW.
away. And we have a lot to
Is this
cover
the
over
Marvels?
the next few hours. So let's begin with tonight's rules. Candidates will have 90 seconds to answer questions, 60 seconds to give a rebuttal at the
Somebody needs
moderator's
to tweet us
discretion. You will all
live on
see
the
the timing
CW.
lights that will indicate when time is up. It's time to stop talking.
And the time we have is critical over the next 2
And good
hours.
wasn't
So we
smiling.
ask
He was
the audience to
scowling. Good.
please keep your
Scowl.
applause to a minimum.
Right? Be angry.
All right, with that, let's get started. On
These
stage
captions.
tonight, 4 candidates, all vying
You
to
guys hear
become
okay?
their party's nominee. And given the state of affairs in our political system right now, one of you might very well do it.
That looks pretty.
Even many Democrats now admit that President Biden is a weak candidate. Just as many Republicans acknowledge that former President Donald Trump's multiple legal troubles could imperil his quest for a second term, all of which means one of you could wind up the leader of the free world.
Did she have her
Having
buccal
said
fat
that-
removed?
Mr. Trump is nearly 50 points ahead
She looks
of
good,
all of
though.
you in the national polls. 29 points ahead in Iowa, where the GOP caucuses are less than 6 weeks away. And so, as Republicans get ready to vote on whether any of you might be preferable to Mr. Trump, we begin with the question of electability. Governor DeSantis, your campaign and its super PAC have spent the most money, had the most high net worth donors, and had a wave of momentum coming into this race after your big re-election win in Florida. You were seen by many as the candidate most likely to consolidate the non-Trump field. But here we are, a month out from the first real votes, and you haven't managed to do it. In fact, Nikki Haley is beating you in New Hampshire and South Carolina now, and closing in on you in Iowa. Not to mention Trump, who is not only dominating in the early states, but is beating you in Florida by over 30 points. Is it fair to say, as Senator Tim Scott did when he dropped out, that voters are telling you, not no, but not now?
So we have a great idea in America that the voters actually make these decisions, not pundits or pollsters. I'm sick of hearing about these polls because I remember those polls in November of 2022. They said there was going to be a big red wave. It was going to be monumental, and that crashed and burned. The one place it didn't crash and burn was in the state of Florida. They weren't predicting that I would win the way I did, and I won the greatest Republican victory in the history of the state of Florida. I'm looking forward to Iowa and New Hampshire. The voters are going to be able to speak, and we're going to earn this nomination. And here's what we need. I am sick of Republicans who are not willing to stand up and fight back against what the left is doing to this country. You've got to be willing to stand strong, and you've got to be willing to beat these people. I'm the only one running for president that has beaten these people on issue after issue. We beat the teachers' unions when we did school choice. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat George Soros when we removed 2 of his radical district attorneys. We beat the Democrats on election integrity. I have delivered results. That's what we need for this country. And you have other candidates up here like Nikki Haley. She caves anytime the left comes after her, anytime the media comes after her. I did a bill in Florida to stop the gender mutilation of minors. It's child abuse and it's wrong. She opposes that bill. She thinks it's fine and the law shouldn't get involved with it. If you're not willing to stand up for the kids, if you're not willing to stand up and say that it is wrong to mutilate these kids, then you're not going to fight for the people back home. I will fight for you and I will win for you.
Period. That was good.
Ambassador Haley.
She's arrived.
You left government service in 2018 with just $100,000 in the bank. 5 years later, you're reportedly worth $8 million, thanks to lucrative corporate speeches and board memberships like you had with Boeing. Weeks ago, you met with Wall Street heavyweights, including leaders from JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BlackRock. Several other billionaire investors are reportedly ready to endorse you, or recently have, all of which comes with expectations. Aren't you too tight with the banks and the billionaires to win over the GOP's working class base, which mostly wants to break the system, not elect someone beholden to it?
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. You know, first I'll tell you, just to respond to Ron, he continues to lie about my record. I actually said his Don't Say Gay bill didn't go far enough because it only talked about gender until the 3rd grade. And I said it shouldn't be done at all, that's for parents to talk about. It shouldn't be talked about with schools.
Don't Say Gay bill.
In reference to donors coming on board.
She just did. She just proved his point.
Anybody we can take support from.
Literally.
But I have been a conservative fighter all my life. I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor. We opposed every single corporate bailout we possibly could. We passed tort reform. We passed one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed pro-life bills. We moved in unemployment from 11% to 3%. We took on the unions and we took on Obama when it came to the unions, the Syrian refugees, and everything in between. And so I've had a fight. And so as much as Ron says that, that's not true. But when it comes to these corporate people that want to suddenly support us, we'll take it. But you can, I don't ask them what their policies are. They ask me what my policies are. And I tell them what it is. Sometimes they agree with me. Sometimes they don't. Some don't like how tough I am on China. Some don't like the fact that I've signed pro-life bills. Some don't like the fact that I may oppose corporate bailouts. That doesn't matter. That's who I am. And that's why the most conservative grassroots group in the country, Americans for Prosperity, endorsed me last week.
Well, because he didn't respond to the criticism. It wasn't about the Parents' Rights and Education bill. It was about prohibiting sex change operations on minors. They do puberty blockers. These are irreversible. Talk to Chloe Cole. She went through this. Now she's an adult. She's warning us that she'll never be able to have kids again.
We love you, Chloe.
Nikki Haley opposed. She said the law shouldn't get involved in that. And I just ask you, if you're somebody that's going to be the president of the United States and you can't stand up agained child abuse, how are you going to be able to stand up for anything? That is the truth. We have it on video.
I said that if you have to be 18 to get a tattoo, you should have to be 18 to have anything done to change your gender.
The law should stay out of it.
We're gonna get to this in more detail later. Let's finish with
She's slippery.
Trust me.
Do her like you did Newsom.
Mr. Ramaswamy, for months you campaigned as a unifier. Then you stood up at the first debate and attacked all of your competitors as bought and paid for. The second debate, you changed your tune, saying these are good people on this stage, admitting you can come across as a bit of a know-it-all and rejecting the practice of personal insults. By debate number 3, you called Nikki Haley corrupt, accused Ron DeSantis of wearing high heels, and told Ambassador Haley she should keep a closer eye on her daughter. Can you see how this has led some to conclude you are not, in fact, a unifier, and to question your authenticity?
Megyn, I think there's a time and place for everything. We need somebody in the White House who absolutely is going to be a fighter when it counts. And I did say that there were some good people on that stage in that third debate. Doug Burgum was on that stage at that time, and I'll say that jokingly. Ron DeSantis is a good person, too. I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not responding to the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is. And now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt. And when I said they were bought and paid for, I meant the Republican establishment, not the Democratic establishment. Now you have Reid Hoffman, the person who's effectively George Soros Jr., funding lawsuits across this country against Donald Trump to keep him off the ballot, funding left-wing causes. We discovered this week that he is one of Nikki Haley's largest supporters. Larry Fink, the king of the woke industrial complex, the ESG movement, the CEO of BlackRock, the most powerful company in the world, now supporting Nikki Haley. And to say that doesn't affect her is false, because it's after that meeting later that day that she says that every American needs to be doxxed by having their ID, their government-issued ID, tied to what they say on the internet. So I think that this is far more corrupt than I even imagined when I entered politics. But I will say this. It is going to take a leader from the outside with fresh legs from the next generation to unite this country. Not the broken politicians who are puppets of the puppet masters, but the actual people in this country. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I think it's going to take somebody whose best days in life are still ahead to see a country whose best days are ahead of itself. And I think I can reach that next generation better than anybody else in this race.
Thank you. Response.
Megan. First of all, we weren't bankrupt when I left the UN. We're people of service. My husband is in the military, and I served our country as UN ambassador and governor. It may be bankrupt to him, but it certainly wasn't bankrupt to us.
My God.
Secondly, I did serve on the board of Boeing. I did a lot of work with Boeing when I was governor. They were a great partner to me. I served for 10 months. And then when they decided after COVID that they wanted to go for a corporate bailout, I've never supported corporate bailout, so I respectfully stepped back and got off the board. I love Boeing. They build good commercial airplanes. They build airplanes for our Air Force. I am proud of them. They employ a lot of people in South Carolina, but that's why I left the Boeing board. There's nothing to what he's saying. And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them, but I'm not going to sit there and deny.
Talking about ESG and these woke corporations and BlackRock. The idea that I want to do that in Florida, they were managing our pension, part of our pension, and then when they did the ESG, I took $2 billion away from BlackRock. We took action. This ESG, they call it environment, social governance, and again, Nikki is meeting with all these people. They want to use economic power to impose a left-wing agenda on this country. They want basically to change society without having to go through the constitutional process. We've kneecapped it in the state of Florida. The next president of the United States needs to be able to go to that office on day one and end ESG. And the fact of the matter is, we know from her history, Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts. And that is not acceptable.
Ron is on fire.
The irony is Nikki Haley was heaping praise on me when I wrote that book, but now I worry. I was warning about the woke industrial complex in this country as a warning. Apparently, she read it as a how-to manual, just like George Orwell's books as well. And so I think that that's actually far more dangerous than, this is really important for people to understand. We're marching towards fascism under Biden. Jack Smith has subpoenaed every last retweet that someone has issued from Donald Trump in the year 2020.
Love you, America. Thanks
the
for
only
being
person
here.
more fascist than the Biden regime now is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government should identify every one of those individuals with an ID. That is not freedom. That is fascism. And she should come nowhere near the levers of power, let alone the White House.
I've got to get to Governor Christie. I haven't forgotten about
but
you.
can I just say,
Can you speak?
I really appreciate
How
that.
you doing, sir?
Good to see you.
Can you please speak to the requirement that you said that every anonymous internet user needs to out themselves? They're both hitting you on it.
I would be happy to, and I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that.
I'm a woman.
You know, I'll say this. What I said was that social media companies need to show us their algorithms. I also said there are millions of bots on social media right now. They're foreign, they're Chinese, they're Iranian. I will always fight for freedom of speech for Americans. We do not need freedom of speech for Russians and Iranians and Hamas. We need social media companies to go and fight back on all of these bots that are happening. That's what I said. As a mom, do I think that social media would be more civil if we went and had people's names next to that? Yes, I do think that, because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But having said that, I never said government should go and require anyone's name.
That's false.
She said, I want your name.
She
As President of the United States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do
I said we're going to get the millions
I want your
of
name.
bots.
She wants government ID to dox every American.
That's what she said. You can roll the tape. She said, I want your name. And that was going to be one of the first things she did in office. And then she got real serious blowback, and understandably so, because it'd be a massive expansion of government. We have anonymous speech. The Federalist Papers were written with anonymous writers. Jay, Madison, and Hamilton, they went under Publius. It's something that's important, and especially given how conservatives have
he's
been
on fire.
And they've lost jobs, and they've been canceled. You know the regime would use that to weaponize that against our own people. It was a bad idea, and she should own up to it. Come on now.
Yes. 15 seconds, and then there is the governor, former governor of New Jersey.
This cracks me up because Ron is so hypocritical, because he actually went and tried to push a law that would stop anonymous people from talking to the press, and went so far to say bloggers should have to register with the state if they're going to write about elected officials. It was in the, check your newspaper. It was absolutely there. I have never said government should
trample on your constitutional
you can come
rights.
back to it later.
This is more dangerous than the Democrats.
You're lying.
This section's over. Okay. Governor Christie.
Really?
Just that
I'm usually not somebody who gets missed, but okay, let's go.
What's happening? Okay, I got you.
Yup.
Listen, you endorsed Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020. You gave him an A for his first term. Since then, however, you've turned on him, calling him a liar, a loser, a con man, and someone who cannot win. You've even said that you got into this race just to stop President Trump. His approval rating with Republicans is currently at 81%.
Should stop.
Yours is at 25%. Your best state is New Hampshire, and even there, 2/3 of GOP voters say they would be angry and disappointed if you won. Respectfully, Governor, you have not stopped Mr. Trump, and voters may wonder how you could possibly become the nominee of a party that does not appear to like you very much.
Yeah. Well, look, Megan, it's often very difficult to be the only person on the stage who's telling the truth, and the only person who is taking on what needs to be taken on. I look at my watch now. We're 17 minutes into this debate.
What?
And except for your little speech in the beginning, we've had these three acting as if the race is between the four of us. The fifth guy, who doesn't have the guts to show up and stand here, he's the one who, as you just put it, is way ahead in the polls. And yet I've got these three guys who are all seemingly to compete with, Voldemort, he who shall not be named. They don't want to talk about it.
Oh my God, who wrote this for him?
You go and you say the truth about somebody who is a dictator, a bully, who has taken shots at everybody, whether they've given him great service or not over time, who dares to disagree with him.
I wish he was half the dictator they claim he was.
I know.
Bad things would have happened.
Maybe it's because they have future aspirations. Maybe those future aspirations are now, or maybe they're 4 years from now. But the fact of the matter is the truth needs to be told. And for us to go 17 minutes without discussing the guy who has all those gaudy numbers you talked about is ridiculous.
Gaudy numbers?
The truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit.
The only gaudy number is when he steps on a scale. Okay.
That he wants to use the Department of Justice to go after his enemies when he gets in there. And the fact of the matter is, he is unfit to be president. And there is no bigger issue in this race, Megan, than Donald Trump, and those numbers prove it.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
We will be addressing that issue of Donald Trump in just a moment, but I'd like to first get to some questions on Israel. Governor DeSantis, tonight as we speak, the war is back on in Gaza. Israeli tanks are on the move and have surrounded the home of the leader of Hamas.
Thank you guys for the super chats, by the way. We'll get to them during the commercial.
In the tunnels beneath Gaza for 60 days now. American troops and warships in the Middle East are under attack. How far would you go as president to secure the release of those 8 American hostages? And would it include
talk about the
sending
Middle East
American
is when I get
forces into
snacks.
combat?
We have to look out for our people.
Sorry.
When they're hostages, commander-in-chief, you have to do whatever you can to get them done. But the overall issue with this is this administration is trying to hobble Israel from being able to defend itself. They have a right to eliminate Hamas and win a total and complete victory so that they never have to deal with this again. Hamas wants nothing less than a second Holocaust. They would wipe off every single Jew off the map. They would destroy the state of Israel if we could. Joe Biden will say they support Israel, and then they do nothing but try to kneecap them every step of the way. You should not try to direct their war effort. We should work together with them so that they can bring Hamas to heel. Look, I served in Iraq back in the day. I'm the only one running for president that served in the military. I understand that part of the world. It's not the best part of the world. We do have troops there that Biden is leaving basically as sitting ducks. And you have the Iranians that are attacking these troops, and he's responding with basically pinpricks. If you harm an American service member, you're going to have hell to pay when I'm president. We are not going to let our troops be sitting ducks. We also need to look at what's the underlying problem here. Iran. Biden is doing nothing to bring Iran to account. You got to turn the screws on them. Don't let them have any oil revenue. The money they get, they send to Hamas, they send to Hezbollah, and they foment jihad throughout the Middle East. So
true.
Biden has empowered Iran just like he's empowered other adversaries. We stand with Israel. They're our best ally in the Middle East. We have a unique relationship with them, and you will see a strong relationship when I'm the president of the United States.
But would you send American troops?
Elizabeth, look, this is the problem with the first 3 debates.
Oh, God.
Ron gets asked a question, and he doesn't answer it. Your question was very specific. You said, would you send American troops as commander-in-chief? And he went on to this minute and 30-second hosanna about his knowledge of the military and what we need to do, and didn't answer your question. Look, when you're president of the United States, you're not going to have a choice whether to answer that question or not. Your generals, your Secretary of Defense, your Secretary of State, your National Security Advisor are going to present plans to you. They're going to look at you and say, do we go or don't we, Mr. President? And you can't give a 90-second speech about your military services,
So
laudable as it
would
is.
you send American troops in to
I
rescue those
would
hostages?
absolutely. If they had a plan which showed me that we could get them out safely, you're damn right I'd send the American Army in there to get our people home and get them home now. And I'll answer that question directly.
Thank you, Governor Christie.
Cool.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have said it was irresponsible for Ambassador Haley to call Hamas's terrorist rampage an attack on America and for her to, quote, rabidly shout, finish them, end quote.
Do this.
The Hamas terror attack left dozens of Americans dead and was the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to finish Hamas?
Finish them was purposefully vague in a discussion that included Iran, which is what I objected to. And I think it's, as U.S. president, you have to be responsible. What happened to Israel was dead wrong. What Hamas did was medieval. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And we have to call that out for what it is on October 7th. But to say that that was an attack on America fails a basic test. I mean, Nick, if you can't tell the difference between where Israel is and the U.S. is on a map, I can have my 3-year-old son show you the difference. That is irresponsible because it has major consequences, because that doesn't leave room for what actually is an attack on America. So I believe I have the strongest pro-Israel position actually on the stage, even though it's a little bit different than the standard GOP talking points. And it is this. The founding vision of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the George Washington figure of Israel, what did he believe? He believed that we don't want, as Israel, to depend on the fleeting sympathies of the West and have our hands tied. I think Israel has an absolute right to defend itself to the fullest, without the U.S., the UN, or the EU, or anybody else second-guessing their decisions, as the Biden administration, guess what, is now starting to do. I think that's a more deeply pro-Israel position than anybody else, and it keeps the actual lines of accountability clear because it is a pro-American position. And as leader of the United States of America, just as a father of 2 sons, my sole moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you, the people of this country. That's how I'm going to lead. So I'll tell Bibi, you smoke the terrorists on your southern border, you go ahead and we're rooting for you. We're going to smoke the terrorists on our own southern border, and that's how I'm going to lead this country.
But Americans were killed in that attack. Americans were killed in that attack. And so if you looked at this terrorist attack and the number of Americans, this would be one of the top 10 terrorist attacks in American history. So our own people were killed in that attack. And I think it's absolutely appropriate to point that out and to say that we're in this together and we are going to work with Israel so that these people are brought to justice.
I agree with that.
Ambassador Haley, I'm coming to you. Iran is on the threshold of becoming a nuclear state. The Wall Street
What, did
Journal
they invite
reported
the
that
retarded
Iranian
child
military
to host
leaders
the debate?
gave the green light for Hamas's attack on
How do you go
Israel.
from Megyn Kelly to
You
this
said in
bitch
last
wearing
month's
fucking
debate that, by
kabuki
contrast to the Biden administration's approach to Iran,
Look at that.
you would, quote,
Ugh.
punch them once and punch them hard. Were you saying that it's time to bomb Iran?
No, I was not saying it's time to bomb Iran, but I will tell you, I dealt with Iran every day when I was at the United Nations, and they only respond to strength. What they don't respond to is when you weaken the sanctions like they did on Iran that allowed China to send them billions to fill their proxies. What they don't respond to is when you give $6 billion for 5 hostages. That only makes them want more hostages. What they don't respond to is when they do 140 strikes on our men and women in Syria and Iraq, and we do nothing but just some small shots back. You've got to punch them. You've got to punch them hard and let them know that. That's the only way they're going to respond. So the way you do that is you go after their infrastructure in Syria and Iraq where they're hitting our soldiers. That's what you do. And then that's when they'll back off. The problem is you have to see that all of these are related.
More importantly,
If
by the
you
way,
look
I'm
at the
eating
fact
Korean
Russia
fried
was
chicken.
losing that
It is
war with
delightful.
Ukraine. Putin had hit
Oh
rock
my God,
bottom.
that
They
sounds
had raised the
amazing.
draft age
Awesome.
to 65.
Oh, so
He
good.
was getting drones and missiles,
Yummy.
drones from Iran, missiles from North Korea. And so what happened? When he hit rock bottom, all of a sudden, his other friend, Iran, Hamas goes and invades Israel and butchers those people on Putin's birthday. There is no one happier right now than Putin because
What?
all of the attention America had on Ukraine suddenly
sorry,
went to
what?
Israel.
Getting
And
somebody
that's what they were
a
hoping
bouquet
was
of
going to happen.
flowers.
We need to make sure that we
Oh
have
my
full
God.
clarity that there is a reason, again, that
Oh.
Taiwanese want to help Ukrainians because they know if
I
Ukraine
know.
wins, China won't invade Taiwan. There's a reason the Ukrainians want to help Israelis because they know that if Iran wins, Russia wins. These are all connected. But what wins
Oh my
all of
God.
that?
Yeah, so Haley wants World War III. That's what Haley
That's
wants.
Joe
We need to be
Biden's
fighting every country in the
Say one
world.
thing
Yeah,
about
good
it,
job,
Ukraine.
you
Go
freaking
ahead.
warmongering
So
pig.
foreign policy experience is not the same
I'm taking
as foreign
points.
policy wisdom.
Oh, I
want
love
everybody
it.
at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine. And I think those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to send our troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. So
Another
reject
point
this
for
myth
Vivek.
that they've been selling you that somebody had a cup of coffee stint at the UN and then makes $8 million after, has real foreign policy experience. It takes an outsider to see this. When you look at the blank expression, she doesn't know the names of the provinces that she wants to actually fight for. And there's a puppet masters right there. The donors right there that are playing about the puppet
Okay,
masters.
hold on.
Let me just say something here. You know,
Oh,
his
shut up.
reasonable peace deal in Ukraine, he made it clear. Give them all the land they've already stolen. Promise Putin you'll never put Ukraine in Russia, and then trust Putin not to have a relationship with China. Let me tell you something. That's no
That's
real
not my deal.
I hate when he
That's
gets so
exactly
like,
what you said.
oh,
You do
guys,
this
let's
in every
just, wow.
debate.
It's like,
You
shut
say-
up.
No, don't
I'll
interrupt
tell
me.
him
I
what to
didn't
do.
interrupt you. Okay? You
Tell
say
him
this.
about how you
You
want to
do
send our
this.
kids to
at-
die.
You
Go
do
for
this
it.
at every
Oh,
debate.
he's gonna
You
eat
go out on
him.
the stump and you say something. All of us see it on video. We confront you out on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to
I'll
say
tell you
one.
exactly
No,
what I said, Chris.
I'm not done yet.
Well, this
Now
is
look.
this is
And
nonsense.
here's
It's not a spirit.
I'm not done yet.
This is the fourth debate.
Feedback.
The fourth debate
Is
that
he
you
hungry?
voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America. So shut up for a little while.
I'm gonna respond to that.
I want to
Chris,
say
your
something.
version
That's
of
We're gonna
kind
let
of
you
funny.
respond to that.
After-
We're gonna
after
let
the
you
main
respond to
vote, I'll
that. Let
take
him
that.
finish.
I want to say something else. We're now 25 minutes into this debate. And he has
Is he the
insulted
time counter?
Nikki
What is
Haley's
this?
basic
17 minutes, 25 minutes.
Not her positions, her basic intelligence. She doesn't know regions. She wouldn't be able to find something on a map that
It seems like Christie and Haley versus
Look,
DeSantis and
if you want
Vivek,
to disagree on
honestly.
issues, that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues.
Oh,
But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years, which is longer than he's even started to vote
And
for
I
Republican
fucked her at
primary.
the UN.
And while we disagree about some issues and we disagree about who should be president of the United States, what we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman. You should stop insulting her.
Oh,
Take
such
this
a dick.
several times over. So first of all, I think we just learned something from Chris Christie. We learned three
Yeah, he
things.
wants to bang Nikki
We
Haley.
learned three things right there. First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants to fight for. Chris, your version of foreign
Period.
policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York.
Yeah.
So do yourself a favor, just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal,
Yeah.
and get the hell out of this
Yeah,
race.
yeah.
When it comes to Nikki, I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go
While
die
you
in somebody
weren't
else's
voting-
war,
Hold on.
while
you
you
better,
weren't
excuse
voting-
me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I
You
haven't
had
heard
your
the time
chance,
when you
and
weren't
we're going to be
speaking.
done. So listen up to this, is if these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq to justify that invasion,
Yes.
didn't know the first thing about
Yes.
it, yet they sent thousands of our sons and daughters to go die. The same people who told you the same in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is still in charge 20 years later. $7 trillion
Yes.
of our national
He's
debt due to
growing
these
on me.
toxic neocons. You can put lipstick on a Dick Cheney. It is still a fascist neocon.
Thank
and
you,
you got to
Mr.
see that
Ramaswamy.
today.
Thank you, Mr.
Dick
Yes.
Cheney
Ramaswamy.
all over again in this party.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy.
nipples are
15 seconds.
Name the provinces. Neither of
me-
you could even
Mr.
name the first thing about Eastern
Thank you.
Ukraine.
I think we've had enough of this.
And Crimea.
Think about that.
Let me just
It's actually Crimea is the wrong answer.
All right.
all right, let me just say this. You know, this is the kind of thing where he talks about experience.
Just every time he
No,
talks.
True.
I was the U.S. attorney
Sanctimonious right
in New
here.
Jersey
Yes.
when the terrorist attacks were launched against the United States in 2001. I brought the
Yeah.
first two
9/11.
cases in this country.
Yes. Use
against
the
the
9/11 card.
was
attack us
bad.
again. And
Yeah.
I know about the threat of terrorism and bullying in this country and around the world.
9/11.
And at that time, he was learning about the provinces in Ukraine, sitting with his smart-ass mouth at Harvard. That's what was going on. And so the fact of the matter is, and back then he was a Democrat. So, you know, the fact is that all he knows how to do,
You're busy hugging
all
Barack
he knows
Obama
how
getting
to
him elected.
do,
Thank you.
all he knows how to do is insult good people who have committed their lives to public service and not say anything that moves the ball down the field for the United States.
All right. Thank you, Governor Christie. We are going to take a quick break, cool things down a little
Oh.
bit. When we come
He
back,
walked
we're
on
going to
top
tackle
of
issues
Building
on the
7
southern
and it
border.
collapsed.
We'll be back in a few minutes.
Building 7. Building 7 actually. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Building 7 actually collapsed because Chris Christie was on the top floor. So that's the thing that most people don't know. You heard it here first.
Official GOP store.
They've all been taken like, so I don't know, like they are damn.
They're on fire. Yeah, they're on fire. Doesn't it seem a little bit like Haley and Fatty kind of agreed to be nice to each other? And then DeSantis and Vivek were kind of also like kind of nice to each other. So listen, I'll take Vivek DeSantis any day over the other two, over like I am brave and beautiful and I am woman. Ugh.
Yes. He's starting to grow on me. How
Yeah.
did Katie and your hand? Hashtag
Katie.
hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Howdy.
Wait, there's an official GOP store. Oh my God, there's an official GOP store. Just what everyone wants. By the way, sorry, parentheses. I need to answer these super chats from our beautiful chat friends. And please feel free to send in your super chats and help support the channel. Send us your grift bucks. My beloved Chris on microwave day, which I tried to find. I have nothing in my freezer. I tried to find something to like nuke for you. Can we please make all elected politicians and candidates wear their corporate sponsors' logos on a jacket like we do athletes? It would be eye-opening.
Yes.
100%.
1000%. 10 out of 10.
My beloved Jeremy. The only truth Christie ever told is how much he loves all-you-can-eat buffets.
Oh, and then when they got that side angle of him,
Oy. Low key, if Christie and Vivek get into a brawl, I might get a Schadenfreude chub. Yes. And they just did. Oh my God. Dude, every debate up until now, the Republican debates have been snoozers. I didn't even stream the last Republican debate because I couldn't stay awake through it.
Yeah.
Whew, is that turning around?
Yeah, for real though, huh? And I don't know, like Nikki Haley, because of all the media coverage, she's obviously like, she's almost in the position Vivek was a couple debates ago where everyone was attacking him or like talking to him because he's getting so much attention.
Survivor
Sounds
has
like
not
Survivor
been
with the alliance
good since like, I don't know, a decade ago. I was trying to remember the last good season, but it went woke, so I gave up on it. I broke up with that show.
Survivor references aren't very good for the GOP because of the tiki torches and the whole white supremacy thing, you know? So the tribe has spoken.
Michael, you're so right. The boring guys dropped out. That's true.
Yeah, that is
I will
true.
say, I totally take back what I said. I am so glad Chris Christie is there because he brings some spice. The spice,
but he also,
hard, but
he like every time it's like his body language and his cadence and everything. As soon as he starts speaking, he gets into that politician mode. Like, listen, folks, hey, let me talk to the people, and that's just so inauthentic to me. It doesn't look good. Like it worked a few times for him back in the day, but it's completely schmarmy and comes off just put on. You know, he's like, listen, folks, while they're arguing about it's been 22 minutes, it's been 17 minutes since I last had a snack. You know, he's just like counting down the minutes. He's like, how long is this thing going for? It's been half an hour.
Stopwatch.
Yeah. He's like, I have some dino nuggets waiting for me in back, and it's been 17 minutes since I've had one. No, he's obnoxious. He's obnoxious as hell. And I love how much Vivek gets under his skin. Ooh, he hates Vivek so much. So does Nikki.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just in general can't stand when people try to go, oh, insults and like, shut up. I don't give a fuck about insult, whatever, as long as it's honest. These people would prefer lies concealed in nice.
Obama, they prefer like Obama speaking type stuff. You know what I mean?
Epitome of nice.
Yes, exactly. And Vivek is giving me like
different than good.
Vivek is giving me like a hybrid of like Obama eloquence, but then like Trumpish type of like context or content, you know? Yeah. So I think that's interesting. But there was something. What was the other thing I was gonna say? I think you said all the boring people left. I'll remember it later, but yeah, this one's interesting for sure.
From Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
And Megyn Kelly's doing a great job. She's doing really good. A+ so far.
And the crisis are among the most pressing issues for Republican voters right now. Both the issue of migrants crossing illegally into our country and the separate issue of fentanyl being smuggled in mostly through legal.
Finally, yes.
All year, News Nation has been at the border documenting the crisis. In 2023 alone, Border Patrol encountered a record 2.4 million migrants. All four of you have talked tough. The question now is, how realistic is the talk? So, Governor DeSantis, I'd like to start with you. You have pledged to send the military to the southern border on day one of your administration with orders to shoot, quote, stone cold dead anyone illegally entering with a backpack that you believe contains fentanyl. Critics have called this a shoot first, ask questions later policy that would amount to extrajudicial killing. You are a former military lawyer. Why do you think this idea of yours would be legal?
The drug cartels are invading our country and they are killing our citizens by the tens of thousands every year. We had a situation in Florida. There was an 18-month-old baby that was crawling on the floor of an Airbnb rental. There was fentanyl residue on the carpet and the baby died. Is this acceptable in this country? I know the elites in DC, they don't care. They don't care that fentanyl's ravaging your community. They don't care that illegal aliens are ravaging our community and overwhelming our community. The commander-in-chief not only has a right, you have a responsibility to fight back against these people.
And does that mean shooting first?
It means you're gonna categorize them as foreign terrorist organizations, and we will identify just like we would anywhere. When I was in Iraq, the Al Qaeda wasn't wearing a uniform. You'd see anyone walking down the street, they all had man dresses on. You didn't know if someone had a bomb, an IED attached or not. And so you had to make a judgment based on intelligence, based on positive identification. But we're going to be able to get the intelligence on these cartel people. And here's the thing. If we had a wall across the southern border, which I support, this would not have happened. We need to build a wall across the southern border. I'll get it done. And I'll make Mexico's supposed to pay for it. Remember, here's how you do that. I am going to have fees on remittances from foreign workers when they send the money back to foreign countries. We're going to tax it, and we're going to build a wall with that. So yes, you should have had that, but we don't have it. I'm going to build it, but we have to lean in on this problem. I am not going to sit there and allow mothers to lose more kids because of fentanyl overdose. I am not going to sit there and let sex trafficking go unabated or human trafficking go unabated. There's going to be a new sheriff in town, and these drug cartels better buckle up.
I'll give him a point for that.
You have pledged to catch and deport all migrants who are here in this country illegally. But then you said in Londonderry, New Hampshire last month that you will not deport those who are working and paying taxes rather than feeding off the system. Which is it?
So first of all, what I said is all of the 7 or 8 million illegals that have come under Biden's watch absolutely have to go back. We have to stop the incentive of what's bringing them over here in the first place. Biden just gave temporary protective status to 500,000 Venezuelans. That's 500,000 Social Security cards. That's 500,000 driver's licenses. And I know from my time at the United Nations, the first thing they do is pick up the phone and said, we came over, come on over. And that's what sends more. You have to go and deport these people so they know it can't happen again. For those that have been here longer than that, we've got to start seeing who is it, how long have they been here, have they been vetted, have they paid taxes, have they been working, and figure out who else is out there. But what I know is my parents came here legally. They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended by those that are coming illegally. We can't let them skip the line. But when you talk about fentanyl like you did before, let's look at something else. Yes, I think we should send special operations over and take out the cartels. I think we should do a remain in Mexico policy so they never step foot in U.S. soil in the first place. But look at where fentanyl came from. Let's go to the heart of the matter. It came from China. That's why we need to end all normal trade relations with China until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. I promise you, they need our economy. They will immediately stop that. But this is where Trump went wrong. Trump was good on trade, but that's all he was with China. Because here he allowed fentanyl to continue to come over. He continued to allow them to he would give them technology that would build up their military and hurt us. He allowed the Chinese infiltration for them to buy up farmland, to put money in our universities, and to continue to do things that were harmful for America. We now have a spy base in Cuba and police stations, and Trump didn't do anything about it.
Thank you.
China, though, I mean, listen, this is rich, because when she was governor of South Carolina, she was the #1 ranked governor of bringing the CCP into her state. She wrote a love letter to the Chinese ambassador saying how great a friend China is. You can look at it. We put it on our website, rondesantis.com. There's also a video of her as governor standing in front of a Chinese flag with a Chinese business saying that she now works for them, talking about this Chinese company. So she's been very weak on China. Now, here's the problem. The rhetoric is different, but her donors, these Wall Street liberal donors, they make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors. She will not stand up for you.
15 seconds, Ambassador.
That was good. Point for DeSantis.
First of all, he's mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him, and now they support me. The second thing is he has
they're jealous.
Chinese company, UGAS, that he just did a rally there last year. They have given you $340,000 in campaign donations between them and their employees. They are tied to the Communist Chinese Party. Jinko Solar is another one. They went and expanded. You gave $2 million in subsidies.
I banned China from buying land in the state of Florida.
The Department of
I ejected the Confucius Institute. Nikki Haley brought Confucius Institutes to the universities in South Carolina.
That is not true.
I ejected them. So I have a record of standing up and do what's right. And here's the thing.
You have a record of lying.
She's trying to say things like that. Even the liberal media groups that usually, if I say the sky is blue, they'll fact check me and say that's wrong. They looked at her charges. They said it was totally false, that they could not find one instance of me recruiting a Chinese business coming to Florida. You know why? Because we never recruited any Chinese businesses to the state of Florida.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy, over the past year, fentanyl has killed more than 75,000 Americans, 1,000 of them right here in Alabama. You have vowed to use the military to, quote, annihilate drug labs inside Mexico, something the president of Mexico said would be a hostile act. But fentanyl can easily be made anywhere, and labs that are shut down can easily and quickly be replaced. Are your tough enforcement policies offering false hope to a country racked by addiction?
To the contrary, I don't think it's going to have to come to that if we deal with the actual demand side problem that we also have in this country. I mean, the easy part is talking about how we're going to use our military to secure the border. I will, and I believe that everybody else wants to do the same thing. But the harder part is dealing with the crisis of purpose and meaning, the mental health epidemic raging across this country like wildfire. And there's a reason why after the opioid crisis, you see fentanyl. And even after we get fentanyl, and we are going to be sure to make sure we do it, this one is worse for many reasons. They're illegally lacing it into pharmaceuticals, so it's more dangerous. But we're deluding ourselves. The real false promise here is thinking that we're going to have dealt with that underlying mental health epidemic in this country by just dealing with the demand side of it. But I want to get back to this issue of the root cause, because a lot of these are coming from labs in Wuhan, China, of all places. Drug materials that are going to the Mexican drug cartels that they're pumping across that southern border like a modern opium war. I think it is going to take a U.S. president that's going to have a very different conversation with Xi Jinping than what Joe Biden just had in California. I will tell Xi Jinping, you will not only not buy land in this country or donate to universities in this country. U.S. businesses won't expand into the Chinese market until they're playing by the same set of rules. And the same country that's putting fentanyl into illegal pharmaceuticals in Mexico, it's no coincidence, is the exact same country that also unleashed hell on the world with the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have to hold them accountable with every financial lever that we have available. That is what it actually means to stand with a spine. And you mark my words, if we're willing to stand with the spine, China will absolutely have to fold because they're in a tougher spot than we are. And then we're back to playing by the same set of rules.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Thank you. Let's talk about the economy. Ambassador Haley, homeownership has always been part of the American dream, but it's increasingly out of reach for younger Americans. This year, mortgage rates reached 30-year highs. Home prices have risen $190,000 over the past decade. Is this the free market at work? Or should the federal government do something to make homes more affordable?
Politician-y answer.
Well, yeah, Mrs. Blackrock.
You're exactly right. My daughter just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home. Right now, the average homeowner in America is 49 years old. You've got young people everywhere. Right. That used to be the American dream, and now it's out of reach. But you look at what happened. You first of all look at what the Fed did. The Fed did a terrible job when they allowed all of that money to go through. You saw the Treasury bond rates go up. That affected mortgage rates, that affected automobile rates, that affected insurance rates. And so now we have a high interest rate. You've got a supply issue. Ask any builder. The supply issues have continued to be there. That's caused the rate to go up. And then you've got insurance that have gone up. And so what you have is a lot of younger people who, one, can't afford a home, but two, the banks aren't lending them any money. They've made the regulations so hard that they don't want to give loans on mortgages anymore. So what we have to do is we have to open it up. We have to, one, grow our economy so that people have more money in their pockets. We've got to look at the supply chain and make sure that we are funneling that so that builders don't have to sit there and go overseas to find things. And then we need to make sure that we really stop paying down this debt, make sure that we stop the borrowing, stop the spending. I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels, because our kids are not going to forgive us for all the spending that happened. And as much as everybody wants to talk about how Donald Trump had a good economy, $9 trillion in debt, he did just in 4 years. And we're all paying the price of that, including those mortgage prices.
Sure. We're going to come back to President Trump, I promise. Governor DeSantis, the latest News Nation Decision Desk poll found that inflation tops the worries of American voters. 61% say they're very concerned, and the working class is hardest hit. Economists say this was fueled by a glut of federal spending. The Biden administration has added $6 trillion to the national debt so far, but President Trump wasn't exactly a penny pincher. His administration added $7.8 trillion. Do Republicans, including President Trump, share the blame for inflation? And what concrete steps would a President DeSantis take to help Americans make ends meet?
The borrowing, printing, and spending of money was both parties in Washington, D.C. That's just a fact. These Republicans in Washington have spent. It's driven your prices higher, and it's driven your interest rates to the point where you can't afford. I met a young fella in Iowa. He had graduated college a couple years ago, and he's like, Governor, I don't have a chance. I'm gainfully employed. He's like, I have no chance to afford a home and start a family. That is taking the American dream away from people. So we're going to get the inflation down. We're going to get the interest rates down. We are going to reduce spending, and I will be willing to veto, and I vetoed a lot as governor of Florida, and we'll do that. We're also going to open up all of our domestic energy for production, lower your gas prices, lower the price of fuel. That's going to help the economy. It also help jobs, and we'll do it. But, you know, another thing that's burdening young people are these student loans. Now, I don't support having a truck driver having to pay a student loan for someone that got a degree in gender studies. That is wrong. We should not have taxpayers do that. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to get to the root cause of the problem. These student loans are going to be backed by the universities because they need to have an incentive to produce gainful employment for people. They should not be indulging in ideological studies. They should be focusing on things that work. And we're going to take some of this money and we're going to move it to actual vocational training. In Florida, we doubled apprenticeships. We have more truck drivers. These are in-demand skills. Don't let anybody tell you that the only way you can be successful is through a 4-year brick and ivy degree. That's one way you can be. It's not the only way. And we're going to fix that problem in the United States of America.
The boring section.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
The end was good.
He
ended it well.
Like Bitcoin as an opt-out from our, quote, broken financial architecture, and you oppose efforts to regulate it. The head of the largest international crypto exchange just pleaded guilty to allowing his platform to launder money for terrorists, including Hamas. You say your cryptocurrency plan will, quote, ensure economic freedom for Americans, end quote. Won't it also ensure economic freedom for fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists?
Look, fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists have been defrauding people for a long time. Our regulations need to catch up with the current moment. The fact that SBF was able to do what he did at FTX shows that whatever they have as the current framework isn't working. And I think it is nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, could not even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not. And so I think that this is just another example of the administrative state gone too far. Here's the dirty little secret in American politics today. The people who we elect to run the government are not the ones who are even actually that are writing regulations that Congress never gave them the authority to write. And the good news is a U.S. president can absolutely fix that. That takes a U.S. president with a spine. So what I've said is in my administration, by the end of year 1, we will have a 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats. We will shut down government agencies that should not exist.
Right over my head.
We will rescind any regulation that fails the test of West Virginia versus EPA, which is the most important Supreme Court case of our lifetime, that said if Congress didn't delegate that to an administrative agency, then it's unconstitutional. These are seismic changes. These are big changes that the next president can deliver without asking Congress for permission or
they're even giving him those
and I want people to understand that
angles.
distinction, because people have been sold myths by politicians for a long time saying, I'm going to work with Congress to do this or that. Much of what you've heard on the stage from the other politicians fit that description. They need Congress. The things that I'm promising you, this is what the leader of the executive branch gets to do under Article 2 of the Constitution.
Thank you, sir.
Cut down the bureaucracy. That's how we grow our economy and put the Federal Reserve in its place. This is part of the crypto discussion.
No.
90%
Mr.
headcount reduction at the Fed.
You're out of time. 15 seconds, Governor DeSantis.
So one of the dangers that we're going to face, Biden wants, is a central bank digital currency. They want to get rid of cash, crypto. They want to force you to do that. They'll take away your privacy. They will absolutely regulate your purchases. On day 1 as president, we take the idea of central bank digital currency and we throw it in the trash can. It'll be dead on arrival.
I agree with that.
Gotta get a break. I have a whole second hour to get to. It's exciting. And when we come back,
Oh,
I've got a
yay.
big subject. Huge, you might even say.
Wunderbar.
Stay tuned.
So glad.
I know.
We'll get to their boring topics in a second. Let me hit up our beautiful friends' super chats. Thank you guys so much. Friches, our darling Friches, says there's a balance between total isolationism and intervening everywhere. Yes, the problem is, unlike during the Cold War, very few politicians today know clearly how to make the case for or against a war. Very true.
Yeah, because America's been struggling to find its big bad, It's been struggling to find like the big villain that it can pay. They tried to do it with Putin, but that failed within a year. I mean,
yeah, and the media is struggling trying to sell it to us. They need to make every day into 9/11.
Yeah, exactly.
Bobby, my friend, come on, Mike. DeSantis Vivek ticket. I was thinking that. Okay, I've been very anti-Vivek this whole time, but like he's kind of growing on me. I don't trust him. He's a slippery little sucker, but he's kind of growing on me.
Oh, this is what I was going to say earlier that I forgot. Between Haley and Vivek, at least Vivek didn't change his name to appear more like whitewashed. What's Nikki's actual name? I forget, but it's like she's slippery as hell, and she's good. That's what makes her slippery. But she has like the same foreign policy as Hillary Clinton, but she's a better speaker.
Yeah. Liz, my beautiful Liz. Only way Christie would win is if he ate President Trump, DeSantis, and I can't say it, let alone spell it. When are you moving to Florida? I love you, Liz.
That's hilarious.
Well, I'm moving February 1st, and I'm hoping it's to Florida. Ask me again in a couple weeks. I'm focusing on that right now, and I'm scared shitless because I have to move very soon, and I don't know where I'm going to move to. So, anyone has any leads on places? Help.
Where in Florida do you want to move?
St. Pete.
St. Pete.
Although at this point, let me just get there and then.
I mean, I had a bunch of friends. One of my best friends lived in Orlando, and she still has a bunch of friends there. So I don't know.
Really?
We can talk later. Yeah.
Sure. Wait, sorry.
So after DeSantis's last comment, he just pulled ahead of my point system ahead of Vivek. So.
Ooh, yeah, you got to tell us about.
I'm marking points every time they make a good something, and then I'm writing a little word about what it was about. And so far from DeSantis, he was really good on China, really good on the gender care and the butchery, and then he was good on the universities. So he's at 11 points right now. Vivek is at 10 because he was good on fentanyl, he was good on being beholden to donors, and he was good on foreign wars. And then Trump got 1 point, Haley got -2. And then Fatty got -2 and then +1 because when he called him a blowhard, that was pretty funny.
None for Madam BlackRock.
None for Madam BlackRock. I mean, overall, she deserves a point just because she's good at like doing the whole thing. But she almost reminds me of like Mitt Romney or something. She's reminding me of somebody, and I can't remember. There was somebody that was like a good speaker, but a total neocon, and just she's slick. She doesn't come off as like super slippery. She comes off as super politician-y, and which is kind of one and the same. But
you could always stay in my truck for a while if you're like, I would stay in your truck anytime, Mr. X.
Oh, I've seen that movie before.
New York out crazy, Mike. No, they out boring me. They used to be like fun crazy. Now they're just horrible.
Where in New York do you live?
I'm from Manhattan. I live in Queens.
Okay. I think that's where my friend lives.
Oh, really?
Harlem. No, one of them lives in Brooklyn. One of them lives in Harlem.
This is funny. Burner Popcorn. Vivek also has a terrific family, and his wife would be an amazing first lady. She's an actual doctor. You mean unlike Dr. Jill Biden? Ooh, we're back.
Spend a lot of time criticizing each other on this stage, as Governor
oh God,
Christie
here
pointed
comes the
out,
Trump.
and less so for most of you on the front runner in this race, Donald Trump. We invited him to come tonight, as you know, but he declined to come. But we'd like to ask you a couple questions about him now. Ambassador Haley, former President Trump recently promised if he's reelected to bring back and expand his program restricting immigration from Muslim countries. Here he is in Iowa on October 16th.
No longer will we allow dangerous lunatics, haters, bigots, and maniacs to get residency in our country. We're not going to let them stay here. If you empathize with radical Islamic terrorists and extremists, you're disqualified. You're just disqualified.
Ambassador Haley, do you support President Trump's plan for ideological screening?
She won't answer.
Well, I don't think that you have a straight up Muslim ban as much as you look at the countries that have terrorist
There
activity.
was no Muslim ban.
You do.
Exactly.
You can ban those people from those countries. That's the way we should look at it, is which countries are a threat to us.
Glad you do.
You look at what came across the southern border. What worries me the most are those that came from Iran, from Yemen, from Lebanon, those areas where they say death to America. That's where you want to be careful. It's not about a religion. It's about a fact that certain countries are dangerous and are threats to us. A president has one job, and that's to keep Americans safe. And that's what we've got to do, is make sure that we have good national security in that process. And that's the way you should look at it, is where the terrorist threats are, how we're going to deal with it, and what we're doing.
That's exactly what the ban was.
We have right now.
That's exactly what it was.
But you have to also look at what Iran and Russia are doing as well. And we need to be paying attention to that. That's why we have to focus on things like cyber, on space, on artificial intelligence, and not just the regular things that we've always focused on.
It's not just terrorism, though. That's important. But look what's happened in Europe. You have more anti-Semitism in Germany than at any time since Adolf Hitler. Why? Because they imported mass numbers of people who reject their culture. Europe is committing suicide with the mass migration, and it's illegal and legal. Nikki Haley said the other day there should be no limits on legal immigration, and that corporate CEOs should set the policy on that. There needs to be limits on immigration, and we should not be importing people from cultures that are hostile. So, for example, I said with the Gaza, you had some of the squad wanted to import 300,000 people from the Gaza Strip. I said, no, we're not taking anyone from Gaza, because of the anti-Semitism and because they reject American culture. So we've got to get smart about this. We cannot let the United States be like Europe.
So there's an overhanging fruit. If I may just hit this point because it relates to what they just said. There are things that the government can do right now that nobody's talking about amongst the professional politicians in this race. What about all of the illegals who are already here? Here's the answer. There's 287G in the law.
We do, Leah.
That is a provision that already allows ICE agents to deputize or allow local law enforcement to enforce those ICE warrants. And it shocks me that nobody in the Republican Party is talking about it, because there are 1 million officials, law enforcement officials in this country. And against that backdrop, we absolutely have the ability to deport anybody who's in this country illegally.
Thank you,
we
Mr.
need to be talking about it
Ramaswamy.
more in this country.
Thank you. Governor Christie.
Anyone remember?
I actually did that as governor of South Carolina.
Governor Christie asked last night in Iowa whether he would be a dictator if he wins a second term in office. Donald Trump quipped, no, quote, except for day one, promising to seal the southern border. He has also pledged to begin the largest deportation operation in American history, saying that migrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country. He has pledged to round up and expel an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. What do you make of that plan?
I think it's completely predictable. I mean, look, he's made it very clear. There's no mystery to what he wants to do. He started off his campaign by saying, I am your retribution. 8 years ago,
thank you.
I am your voice.
I like that.
This is an angry, bitter man who now wants to be back as president because he wants to exact retribution.
If I thought he could or would accomplish it, I would be on board.
Anyone who has tried to hold
I'd
him
vote
to
twice
account
Same.
for his own conduct. And every one of these policies that he's talking about are about pursuing a plan of retribution. And yet, at the first debate, my three colleagues on this stage, when asked if he would be convicted of federal felonies, would they still support him, raise their hand, looked into the camera, and let everybody know that they would still support him, even if convicted of federal felonies. Federal felonies, by the way. Federal felonies, which involve our election process, federal felonies, which involve the most sensitive of our governmental secrets, federal felonies where he instructed others to commit crimes, folks who are now agreeing to go to jail because of what they did in his name. So do I think he was kidding when he said
I love that they haven't brought up
all you have to do is look at
I love that they haven't brought up
all you have to do is look at
the actual
history. And that's
prosecution
why
of him
failing to speak
and
out
how unfair
against
it's
him,
been.
making
Vivek is going with
excuses
that
for him,
hand.
pretending
Yeah.
that somehow he's a victim,
Come on,
empowers
Vivek.
him.
Cute
You want to know why
simpening
those
easy
poll
is
numbers
their
are where they
profile.
are? Because folks like these three guys on the stage make it seem like his conduct is acceptable. Let me make it clear.
Nobody cares what you think.
His conduct is unacceptable.
Thought he ate the
He's
stream.
unfit. And be careful of what you're going to get. If you ever got another Donald Trump term, he's letting you know, I am your retribution. He will only be, Elizabeth, he will only be his own retribution. He doesn't care for the American people. It's Donald Trump first.
Thank you,
He's a
Governor
dictator.
Christie.
Why
Governor
wasn't he
DeSantis.
the last time?
Governor DeSantis.
Or are they
Thank you.
booing him?
Thank you. Governor DeSantis. Donald Trump would be older on day one of his second presidency than Joe Biden was on day one of his first. You have said Trump is not the same man he was when he ran in 2016.
Right.
Your campaign is running ads showing Trump confused. And you have said he has, quote, lost the zip on his fastball. You seem to be saying Donald Trump is no longer mentally fit to be president. Is that what you think?
Look, he is showing father time is undefeated. The idea that we're going to put someone up there that's almost 80 and there's going to be no effects from that, we all know that that's not true. And so we have an opportunity to do a next generation of leaders and really be able to move this country forward. We also need a president that can serve 2 terms. I don't think Donald Trump, I think he's going to have, I don't think he'd be able to get elected. The Democrats want him to be the nominee. We see that. They are going to turn the screws the minute, if he got the nomination,
But do you think he's
you're going to see
mentally
it.
fit to be
I think we
president?
need to have somebody younger. I think when you get up to 80, I don't think it's a job for that. But let me just respond to some of the things there. Look, the media is making a big deal about what he said about some of these comments. I would just remind people, that is not how he governed. He didn't even fire Dr. Fauci.
Yes!
He didn't fire Christopher Wray. He didn't clean up the swamp. He said he was going to drain it. He did not drain it. He said he was going to build the wall and have Mexico pay for it. We don't have the wall. He did say in 2016 he'd have the largest deportation program in history. He deported less than Barack Obama did when Barack Obama was president. So some of these policies he ran on in 16, I was cheering him on then, but he didn't deliver it. Here's what I can promise people. 100% of the things I promised as governor, I delivered on those promises. I beat the left time and time again, and that's what I'll do for you as president. We got to start winning again as a party. Yes, win the election, but we've got to start getting these issues. I will go in and wreak havoc on this bureaucracy. You will see people fired, and we are going to bring a reckoning for how this government handled COVID-19.
Now, Chris, you've had your chance to wax eloquent on Donald Trump. You've been doing it all this whole race.
Why doesn't he just answer the question? The question was very direct.
Oh, shut
Is he
up.
fit to be president or isn't he? The rest of the speech is interesting, but completely non-responsive. And if we were in a courtroom, they'd strike the answer and say, Governor DeSantis.
No, they wouldn't. They would say that
you're a smart man. No, they would.
No, they wouldn't.
They would
Chris.
strike the answer
No, they wouldn't.
because you're not answering
You
it.
just
Is he
don't
fit?
like. You
Is he
have your.
fit?
You have
No.
your thing.
Is he
You
fit
have
or
your
isn't he?
thing.
No, I don't have my thing.
We don't.
He's the thing. Is
We
he
do
fit
not
or
I
want
isn't
to
he?
make
That is your thing. That's your only thing.
It doesn't mean that somebody
is he
who's
fit?
get elected. That's up to the people to
Governor
decide.
DeSantis,
But
let
I
him
think we have an
finish.
opportunity
Or
to
isn't
do
he?
somebody who's
Governor
in.
DeSantis, let him finish.
Ron,
Okay.
is he
I think we have an opportunity
Ron,
to do
guys,
somebody who
no
is in the
talking
prime
over
of their
each other.
life.
Yes.
We don't have to
No
worry
talking
about all this stuff with
Ron,
positive.
DeSantis,
We can get it done, and we'll do it.
I'm going to come to you. Finish.
Look, father time is undefeated. I don't know how he would score on a test, but I know this. We have an opportunity to nominate someone and elect someone for 2 terms who's going to be spitting nails on day one and for 8 years
So you
deliver
do think he's
big
fit?
result.
You
We
do
should
think?
not nominate somebody
He won't answer.
who's almost 80 years old.
He's afraid to answer.
No, I'm not.
You have to
No.
either you're afraid or you're not listening.
No, it's not.
There's a
You
simple
don't want
question.
to hear the
Is he
answer.
fit?
Because you have, I know you have the
Hey,
vendetta
nobody
against
can hear
Trump.
this.
I
No
get
one can
that.
hear you. They can't hear you. You finish, and
Look,
then you get it back.
All right. Look.
He does have a vendetta. It's
I'm
a vendetta.
simple guy.
He hates Trump.
Okay, I hear the question and I answer it. Is he fit or isn't he? I'll concede you're fit, Ron. You're a new generation.
You're not.
44 years old. I wish I was still 44 years old. Okay?
45.
So, well, congratulations. I'd still take 45. Is he fit or isn't he? And this is the problem with my 3 colleagues. They're afraid to offend. And let me tell you something. If you're afraid to offend Donald Trump, then what are you going to do when you sit across from President Xi, you sit across from the Ayatollah, you sit across from Putin? You have to be willing to offend with the truth and answer the question. Fit or unfit?
Okay, listen.
Fit or unfit?
I promised Ron DeSantis a minute and
I've got
a second.
It is not about
You can weigh in
offending.
and then we're moving
It's
on.
about pointing out, do you want to elect somebody who will be older than Biden was when he went in 2021? I don't think he's as bad as Biden was at all, but I do think that over a 4-year period, it is not a job for somebody that's pushing 80. We need somebody that's younger. We need somebody that's going to be able to go in there and clean house on day one and do it for 2 terms. And I'll be able to
Here's
do
my
that.
issue with all 3 of my other colleagues on this debate stage.
They're not your
Is all
colleague.
3 of them have been licking Donald Trump's boots for years for money and endorsements. Ron DeSantis, you've been a great governor, but you would have never been one without actually begging Donald Trump for that endorsement.
And you attacked him in your book a year ago.
Same thing with Chris Christie as a lobbyist, begging them for COVID money for his special interests in New Jersey, prepping them for the debates last time around. These people are now Monday morning quarterbacking some decision he made. I think the real enemy is not Donald Trump. It's not even Joe Biden. It is the deep state that at least Donald Trump attempted to take on. And if you want somebody who's going to speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. Why am I the only person on the stage, at least, who can say that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job? That the government lied to us for 20 years about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11. That the great replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory.
Oh my God!
Of the Democratic Party's platform. That the 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech. That the 2016
a little
election,
loophole.
the one that Trump won for sure, was also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment that actually put up the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that they knew was false. There's a reason why I'm the only person on the stage who can say these things. That's what it's going to take, not people who are licking his boots one time and now Monday morning quarterbacking and criticizing him when it's convenient.
Governor Christie.
I like that. I like that ending.
That was good.
You do not favor a ban on trans medical treatments for minors, saying it's a parental rights issue. The surgeries done on minors involve cutting off body parts at a time when these kids cannot even legally smoke a cigarette. Kids who go from puberty blockers to cross-sex hormones are at a much greater likelihood of winding up sterile. How is it that you think a parent should be able to okay these surgeries, never mind the sterilization of a child? And aren't you way too out of step on this issue to be the Republican nominee?
So is she, though.
No, I'm not.
Thank you, Nikki.
Because Republicans believe in less government, not more.
No, fuck you. Fuck you. That's why Democrats control everything.
And you know what, Megan?
Yeah.
I trust parents.
I trust
out there saying that we should empower
That's what they say about abortion, too. That's the exact same one. I trust doctors. You sound like Obama.
I agree.
Trust women.
We should empower parents to be teaching the values that they believe in their homes without the government telling them what those values should be. And yet we want to take other parental rights away. I'm sorry. As a father of 4, I believe there is no one who loves my children more than me. There's no one who loves my children more than my wife. There's no one who cares more about their success and health in life than we do. Not some government bureaucrat. Not some. You look at these jokers down in Congress.
I would call him a snake, but he's too fast. So he's like, I don't know what.
2 days ago, they couldn't promote somebody in the military of the United States Senate who earned their new rank. And we're going to put my children's health and my decisions in their hands for them to make those decisions, for Joe Biden to make those decisions, for me and for my wife. Let me just say this. This is not something I favor. I think it's a very, very dangerous thing to do. But that's my opinion as a parent, Megan.
Oh, wow.
I get to make the decisions about my children, not anybody else. And
negative 10 points for Fatty.
Tonight, you start to turn over just a little bit of this authority, the authority they're going to take from you next, you're not going to like. I'll stand up for parents.
Oh, they've taken it all already, you dumbass.
You do not have drinking by a certain age.
I have a follow-up question for him, and you guys are going to get to weigh in. Okay, here's my follow-up question. You talk about parental rights. Let's talk about them.
Even with her
when you were governor in 2017, you signed a law that required new guidelines for schools dealing with transgender students. Those guidelines required schools to accept a child's preferred gender identity, even if the minor's parents objected.
Not true.
And it said that there is no duty for schools to notify parents if their son or daughter changes their gender identity, allowing this serious issue to remain a secret between the school and a child. How is any of that pro-parental rights?
By the way, that's simply not true.
You're doing what you accuse me of, Chris. It is absolutely true.
That's simply not true. That's simply not true. That law
it's just
was
not
put
true.
into effect in 2018 and regulated in 2018 after I was out of office, Megan. No, we did not, Megan. We did not issue those guidelines, and you're wrong about that. Simply wrong. I have stood up each and every time.
So I think if this is one issue that's disqualifying, it's this one.
I stood up every single time for parents to be able to make the decisions for their minor children.
But parents,
every single time, parents should make those decisions. And by the way, you know what? Every once in a while, parents are going to make decisions that we disagree with. But the minute you start to
take about disagreeing, it's about sterilizing children.
You don't know that slippery slope, what rights may be taken away next, and what's going to be forced on you.
As a parent,
what a clown.
You do not have the right to abuse your kids. This is cutting off their genitals. This is mutilating these minors.
Yes.
These are irreversible procedures. And
Thank
this is
you.
something that other countries in Europe, like Sweden, once they started doing it, they saw it did incalculable damage. They've shut it down. I signed legislation in Florida banning the mutilation of minors because it is wrong. We cannot allow this to happen in this country. And I know Chris disagrees with me, and I think he has an honest position. Nikki disagrees with me. She opposes the bill that we did to ban that. She said law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it. She also, though, I think, and this flows from what she did as governor of South Carolina, they had a bill to try to say that men shouldn't go into girls' bathrooms. And she killed that bill, and she bragged that she killed that bill. Even to this day, she bragged that. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong, and I think we have every right to protect them from that.
Another point.
I'm going to come to you. I promise him seconds. Go quickly.
I think the North Star here is transgenderism is a mental health disorder.
Megan
we don't
Kelly
let you
needs
smoke
some
a
coin.
cigarette by the age of 18. We don't let you have an addictive drink of alcohol by the age of 21. And I just challenge Ron DeSantis to go one step further and support what I think is clearly within the authority to do using federal funds, just like Reagan did in '84 for the Highway Act that said the minimum drinking age needs to be 21. We can do the same thing when it comes to banning genital mutilation or chemical castration.
Okay.
I know Ron's been unclear about that on the federal level. I'm crystal clear. That's where I stand.
Got it.
That's a
He should be
mental health
attacking
disorder.
Fatty and Haley, not Ron, but he's right.
So first of all, Ron has continued to lie because he's losing.
No, it's not a lie.
You are lying. So
She's
first, of all,
such a bitch.
so first of all, I will say
You're all jealous,
that
and I'm
when I
winning.
was governor, 10 years ago, when the bathroom situation came up, we had maybe a handful of kids that were dealing with an issue. And I said, we don't need to bring government into this, but boys go into boys' bathrooms, girls go into girls' bathrooms. And if anyone else has an issue, they use a private bathroom. Now, 10 years later, we see that this issue has exploded. And this shows how hypocritical Ron continues to be. When he was running for governor and they asked him about that, he said he didn't think bathroom bills were a good use of his time. You can go look that up.
That's what I call it when I go to Taco Bell.
But you said, no.
Wait, what did you say?
So
I missed it.
the idea that you would say that I was
signed
against
it. You
that.
didn't. You killed it. I signed it. I stood up for little girls. I signed a bathroom bill in Florida, so
But
that's
you said-
obviously
no.
not true.
So the idea that you would say that I was
signed
against
it. You
that.
didn't. You killed it. I signed it. I
We
stood up
didn't.
for little girls. You didn't do it. And there was this going on. I was actually just in South Carolina. Some of the legislators told me at the time there were boys going into the girls. That's the whole reason why they did it.
No.
And so they say when she does that explanation that doesn't hold water. And this is the upstate of South Carolina.
Ron.
I signed the bill. I protected
Do you
the
know
girls.
South Carolinians?
She did not do it.
Do you know
I know
South Carolinians? Because South Carolinians. No. You are not going to talk about my state like that because I will tell you for a fact. South Carolinians never allowed that to happen, and we did not have that issue at the time. What I have always said is boys go into a boys' bathroom, girls go into a girls' bathroom. But hold on one second. I also say that biological boys shouldn't be playing in girls' sports, and I will do everything I can to stop that because it's the women's issue of our time.
I signed legislation to protect women's sports. I actually get this stuff done.
Thank you, guys. We're going to move on. Mr. Ramaswamy,
And she
When
only focuses
discussing your
on
Hindu
that.
faith in September, you seemed to take a shot at Ambassador Haley, who is also Indian American and who converted to Christianity as an adult. You said, an easy thing for me to do, being a politician, is to shorten my name, profess to be a Christian, and then
You guys were talking
make the
about this
vape
before.
Vicky or whatever, end quote. Are you questioning Nikki Haley's Christian convictions? And why has your campaign made a point of referring to Ambassador Haley by her given first name, Nimarata, even though she's gone by Nikki for her whole life?
Well, my whole deal is if Nikki Haley, of all people, should know how to pronounce my name correctly, the rest of the news media can learn it. My deal is I'll call her Nikki when she can say my own name right, and that's our little fun side bet. Here's what I will say is deep.
Oh, yeah, look at her face.
But I question her authenticity.
Look at the fucking
and I think that's deeper here. We
bruta.
were just talking about the trans issue. This is a symptom of a deeper cancer in
Oh,
American
hello,
life.
Nimrod.
Identity politics. This new religion that says your race, your gender, and your sexuality are your identity. It is anti-American. It is meritocratic. It's anti-meritocratic, and it is dividing this country to a breaking point. And I've spoken about this to the left. My books are all about this. I've preached this to the left, but it's even worse when Republicans try to play the same game. We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem.
Women.
You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house. This is the problem. Using identity politics more effectively than Kamala Harris is a form of intellectual fraud. And it actually needs to end. There's her donor puppet masters wielding their puppet right up here tonight. This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet, and I reject the use of identity politics in this party. It has been a cancer coming from the left, and I'm sick and tired of the double standards. The people of this country are too. Having 2 X chromosomes does not immunize you from criticism.
Thank you, sir. Governor Haley, would you like to respond?
No, it's not worth my time to respond to him.
You have been using identity politics at every step. She knows it's true, and that's what
Okay, sir, we're not going to give you a response to the question that was to you.
Okay, we got to move on to this. Now, by arrangement with the Republican National Committee, we've got 2 questions for you about the Justice Department and our election system. Here's Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch. Governor Christie, this one's for you.
President Trump and many of his supporters claim federal law enforcement agencies have abused his civil rights for the last 8 years by, among other things, spying on him and now prosecuting him while having treated Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden with kid gloves.
Yes.
A recent Gallup poll shows that
she is. I'm not frozen, but
okay, don't go anywhere. I'm reloading. I'll be back in 10 seconds. Reloading. Don't go anywhere.
Oh God, sorry, I'm fixing my teeth.
You know they can see you, right?
Can they?
Yes.
Oh shit. I have like a piece of cilantro stuck in my tooth back here.
Scratch your ass. Oh my God.
I am disgusting. I'm so sorry.
What did I miss? Okay, wait. We are getting the tape back while David picks his teeth for everyone.
Someone said David's dental checkup podcast. Shut up.
Okay,
Whatever.
sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties. Getting this back.
Wow.
Tub of lard is running his mouth once again.
I wanted to hear that Tom Fitton thing though, because it's true. That's like none of them have brought up that it's been like completely unfair. They spied on his campaign. They made fake evidence. They've investigated him, searched him. Like anybody under that standard would have federal crimes. So
okay, here we go.
This. Now, by arrangement with the Republican National Committee, we've got two questions for you about the Justice Department and our election system. Here's Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch. Governor Christie, this one's for you.
Okay, good. We didn't miss it.
President Trump and many of his supporters claim federal law enforcement agencies have abused his civil rights for the last 8 years by, among other things, spying on him and now prosecuting him while having treated Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden with kid gloves. A recent Gallup poll shows that Americans think more highly of the U.S. Postal Service than they do the FBI or Justice Department. What would you do as president to restore the faith of the American people in these agencies?
I'm gonna kill myself.
First off, I'm the only person on this stage who's actually done a job in the Department of Justice. I was the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey in the 5th largest office in this country, appointed by President Bush on September 10th, 2001. And it was an extraordinary time in this country to be on the front lines of fighting
teeth
the
meet
greatest
Katie's
attack
hand.
against our country since Pearl Harbor. And I'm proud of the 7 years I spent in the Justice Department. And one of the reasons I am is because I had an attorney general when I came in named John Ashcroft. And John Ashcroft stood up and told each and every one of us our job was to do one thing, to make sure justice was done every day, regardless of partisanship, regardless of gender or race or any other consideration. And that's what we did for 7 years. And at a time when our country was at its greatest moment of danger in the last 40 years, we did exactly that. And there was not another domestic terrorist attack on this soil. So what I would do as president, having had that experience, and the only one who's had that experience, is to pick an attorney general who will absolutely do the same thing that John Ashcroft did, to pick U.S. attorneys who will only care about making sure that justice is done without regard to any other consideration but the facts that are presented and whether someone is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and the government can prove it. We have had attorneys general like Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and Jeff Sessions.
Such a pig.
And now our current attorney general, who have not met that standard. And the only way you restore people's faith in the justice system is to put someone like that in charge of the Justice Department.
I'd rather get all of my teeth pulled out than listen to Chris Christie anymore, frankly.
That involves
Like every last one.
If a president's involved in trying to do something and put their thumb on the scales, Donald Trump says he will do, that makes people much less likely to believe our justice system can be fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor DeSantis, next one's for you. Back to Tom Fitton.
Many Republicans are concerned about the legitimacy of elections. A federal judge just ruled that Pennsylvania must count undated mail-in ballots. And unlike Alabama, many states still don't require any identification to vote. What should states do now to increase election integrity and
Megan is super hot
for the 2024 election?
Well, Tom, thanks for the question. Thanks for you guys doing Judicial Watch. It's really, really important. There's a lot of corruption in this government. You guys are doing a great job. What you should do for election integrity is do what we did in Florida. 20 years ago, Florida and elections was a joke. Everybody was laughing at it. I came in, I removed a couple supervisors from South Florida. We require voter ID universal, no Zuckerbucks, no mass mail balloting, and no ballot harvesting. We even have an agency that prosecutes people for violating election laws. The result of that in both 2020 and 2022, we counted millions and millions of votes on election night, produced the results. It was transparent and everybody was happy. That is not happening throughout this country. But let me tell you this as the nominee. I think it's important. Not every state's where we need it to be.
As the
there
nominee,
is ballot harvesting in places like Nevada, all these places. I am not going to fight with one hand tied behind my back. I'm going to have organizations in all the swing states. If they're harvesting, we're harvesting. If they're Zuckerbucks, we're Zuckerbucks. We are going to exploit whatever the rules are. I favor changing the rules to be like Florida and some of the other states that have done a good job. But until then, we have to do that. And then just on the Justice Department and FBI. I mean, I remember being, in Iraq working with FBI on the ground and being, and then I was a special assistant. I used to have such a high regard for these agencies. What they did to Donald Trump with the Russia collusion was one of the biggest abuses of power in the history of our country. These agencies need to be cleaned out. With me, you'll have a new FBI director on day one. We're going to clear out the DOJ, the IRS, all these
I want to hear what Vivek wants
Buckle your
to say about
seatbelts.
this.
There's going to be a new sheriff in town.
Thank you. All right, we got to do a quick
No,
break.
you said that already.
I know. He needs to stop repeating lines. He's done that twice now.
He's horrible.
He said
when he's trying to recite a script.
Yeah, he said Father Time twice, and then he just did that twice. So he's giving like Marco Rubio from that one debate. Remember when Christie eviscerated him? But first of all, why the hell did they ask Chris Christie about unfair prosecution of Trump? He's all for it, obviously. He's jumping on that bandwagon. I want to hear what Vivek has to say about that, because he's the only one with balls enough, besides Ron, but Ron can't go too hard on it because he competes with Trump more. But like, I want to hear what Vivek has to say about that. So
I agree. At this point, after tonight, I think I'm ready for DeSantis Vivek.
I know that would be a sexy little ticket. So
it would be. Come on,
I wouldn't be mad at that.
People.
And good for him for bringing up the what's it called, identity politics, because Nikki Haley has been playing into that a lot. She's like, I carry ammunition in my high heels, like so stupid. She's like trying to score points with CNN and MSNBC. So I'm so over her. She's smarmy, but wow, I think they're dead. No, just DeSantis has one more point than Vivek on my scoreboard, and I'm more of a Vivek fan, honestly. But still, DeSantis is on fire tonight. He's killing it.
Yes. Sorry, y'all. I need to scroll all the way up to find the super chat since I had to reload shit. So
get those supers. Your favorite two grifters are here.
Sorry, talk while I'm scrolling. Tell them you're
Chris Christie just got -10 points for the gender question, first of all. Oh, I trust the doctors and I trust the parents. The doctors are predatory, first of all. Half the parents have Munchausen by proxy, is why they're transitioning their children in the first place. So no, I don't trust the parents to make that decision when it comes to literally the sterilization, the health of your child and like future generations to go on. It's like, we don't just default trust that all parents are going to do the right thing. That's a reason we have child abuse laws, a reason we have a lot of things, okay? So that's such a silly cop-out, and I really hate that Republican/libertarian cop-out of like, well, we're not going to grow the government for blah, blah, blah. That's why you lose. That's why. And that's why they control every institution already. They're not afraid of wielding their power as much as these pussy-ass Republicans are. So Christie can go sit on something that'll hurt his ass. I don't know, because he's the old guard. He's not anything that the Republicans are about now. Like, both Ron DeSantis and Vivek are of the new guard now. They're not afraid to go into identity politics. They're not afraid of the culture war issues. So yes, they're on fire tonight. And I think Nikki just lost a lot of the momentum for her campaign.
I do too.
Because she did not have a good performance like she did the other two times. She seemed unsure of herself. She seemed bratty and petty, saying they're all jealous. You guys wish. He's losing. Like, she sounded like a bitchy Valley girl. I'm sorry. And she played that up, and it wasn't a good vibe at all. So I
agree, Cody Ghost. David for president.
Oh God, no! But
like
thank
David,
you. I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate. Yeah, and our slogan will be Dikey. So Dikey 2024.
Team Dikey. David Dikey 2024.
That was horrifying, and I'm going to never forget that for the rest of my life.
Oh, by the way, Patsy, sorry, you guys. It's not showing me chats from before I reloaded. So after the debate, I'm going to go back and find the super chats I missed. Sorry, y'all. I'm not ignoring you. I promise.
God, I used to have such a crush on him.
The GOP would rather lose with principle than actually win. Yep. But what you were saying is exactly why I love DeSantis, because he is not afraid to wield the power of the government, which is what we need to restore some semblance of a balance of power.
Yep. And in times like this, it's when they migrate too far to the middle that they'll actually lose support. People want something strong. Oh, here she is.
Primary debate of 2023.
Joan
We're going to talk
Crawford.
about our college campuses, starting with you, Ambassador Haley. House
Okay.
Republicans yesterday hauled elite university presidents up to Capitol Hill to answer for the displays of
That was
anti-Semitism on college campuses. These leaders, including the president of Harvard, were asked whether calling for the genocide of the Jews would violate school policies against harassment and intimidation. All of them said it would depend on the context, including whether that speech veers into conduct.
Sorry, I just want to pause for 1 sec. I was just hoping that somebody would have followed it up by asking them, okay, now what if a student called for genocide of Black people? Or the genocide of our sacred trans
people.
Or,
Yep, exactly.
The Jews are the only group of people that you are allowed to do that with, and that they would say, oh,
and white people.
Yeah.
That and white people.
How do you think these schools and the rest of society should balance the imperative of free speech against the need to prevent radical activists from harassing and intimidating others?
It was disgusting to see what happened.
Hi, Granny Panties.
If this had been the KKK that was doing protests on those campuses, every one of those college presidents would have been up in arms. This is just as bad.
Liz, we love you.
The idea that they would go and allow that kind of pro-Hamas protest or agree with the genocide of Jews and try and say that they needed context on that, there is no context to that. This is what we need to do to deal with it. First of all, we have got to get foreign money out of our universities. You've got Arab money, you've got Chinese money, you've got others.
I'm agreeing with the comment.
Every university and say you either take foreign money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over. The second thing we need to do is Biden made a mistake not including anti-Zionism in the definition of anti-Semitism. If you don't think that Israel has a right to exist, that is anti-Semitic. We will change the definition so that every government, every school has to acknowledge the definition for what it is. The third thing is we really do need to ban TikTok.
I don't agree with that at all, yeah.
And let me tell you why.
No.
For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok, every day, they become 17% more anti-Semitic, more pro-Hamas based on doing that.
How did they quantify that?
Yeah. Of adults 18 to 25.
They're like 17 minutes from watching TikTok.
That's a problem.
Sorry, not to pause again. Here's the thing. I have no doubt that that's probably true. However, I don't believe for a second that that's the reason that she wants to go.
Oh, 1,000% not.
Censorship.
1,000% not. Yeah, she would go after Elon and Twitter too if she could.
Mm-hmm.
Campuses also don't go and protect when they have these rallies and you've got students that are scared. We need to go to these universities and say, if you're not going to protect these students, if you're not going to acknowledge anti-Semitism, we'll take your tax exempt status away. That'll fix it and that'll take care of it for good.
Staying with you, Ambassador Haley.
They become 17%
On October 6th,
more retarded.
the Israeli government thought it had a clear-eyed view of the threat from Hamas. In fact, according to the New York Times, it even had Hamas's attack plan and dismissed it as an aspiration. The Israelis were wrong. In our country, the FBI director told the Senate panel just yesterday that he sees, quote, blinking red lights everywhere, and that the threat level has, quote, gone to a whole nother level since October 7th. Which of the threats facing our country do you worry could blindside us?
What worries me and what keeps me up at night is what happens between now and Election Day while Joe Biden's in office. That's what worries me more than anything else. But I'll tell you that America right now is acting like it's September 10th. We better remember what September 12th felt like, because it only takes
you forget 11 September? Are you forget?
You know that the easiest way to get to America is through the southern.
Are you forget what happened?
We're not doing anything to stop it. We've got to get the foreign infiltration out of our country, whether it's in our schools, whether it's on our social media, whether it's we need to stop all foreign lobbying that's happening to members of Congress, and we need to start securing America again. Until we do that, we are going to be at threats. We've got to look at Iran, China, and Russia want to destroy the West. We have to start acting strong again. We've got to start protecting Americans. Right now, Americans don't feel protected, and we're not doing anything to strengthen it. So Joe Biden continues to be a problem. That'll change.
Me too,
election.
Joseph.
Governor DeSantis.
I love that she looks so happy with herself. She's like,
if China invades Taiwan, would you send American troops as President Biden has said he would do?
we will be able to deter that from happening. I think that's the important thing. We need a strategy of denial so that we're deterring Xi's ambitions. It's going to work. Taiwan's an ally. We have longstanding American policy, and you know how that's done, and we will follow that. But here's the thing. Taiwan is important not just because of semiconductors. It's important because if China is able to break out of this first island chain, they're going to be able to dominate commerce in the entire Indo-Pacific. They will use that to export authoritarianism all around the world, including here in the United States. You look at some of these guys, actually some of them that are supporting Nikki on Wall Street, they grovel to China. Anytime something happens, they got to go do that. So they already exert a huge amount of authority over this country. It will get a lot worse. So deterring China's ambitions is the #1 national security task that I will do as president, and we will succeed. The 21st century needs to be an American century. We cannot let it be a Chinese century.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
I'm
coming to you next.
I'm
coming to you next on Taiwan. You said, if you want to stop Xi from invading Taiwan, quote, let's open a branch of the NRA in Taiwan and put an AR-15 in the hands of every family and train them how to use it. That will give Xi a taste of American exceptionalism, end quote. The National Police in Taiwan announced a zero-gun policy last year. Is this a serious policy proposal? And if it isn't, why do you keep repeating it?
Well, it's part of a broader deterrence strategy. And so I think I'm going to respectfully disagree with Ron here. I think the next U.S. president needs to be crystal clear that at least for the foreseeable future, the U.S. will absolutely defend Taiwan. And it is with that clarity that we actually achieve deterrence. But I have a broader strategy than that. We need to get on side in our relationship with India, take it to the next level. India has to be able to block the Andaman Sea, which is where China gets most of its Middle Eastern oil supplies. That's critical. I also do believe the Second Amendment is a critical way of preventing foreign autocrats from being able to. It's worked in America. Why wouldn't it work in Taiwan? So it is part of a broader strategy. But I do think that we need to be specific about our deterrence strategy, or else Xi Jinping is just encroaching by the day. And the reason why we're not doing it for China, I want to be crystal clear, is because we're scared. Why are we scared? Because we depend on them for our modern way of life. Why do we depend on them for our modern way of life? It's because Nikki Haley's latest friends like Larry Fink have created commingled economies with BlackRock telling Exxon and Chevron they can't drill here, while being a shareholder of PetroChina, not applying those same constraints in China. So it is our economic dependence on China that makes us scared. If that were a Russian spy balloon, we'd have shot it down in an instant. If that were a Russian spy base in Cuba, we'd be actually going hard on them instead of turning the other way as we are with China. So it comes back down to that economic dependence. We cannot depend on them for our pharmaceuticals, our semiconductors, and people have been lied to for a long time. Our own military, the F-35 jets that we make in this country, depend on China, and it's going to take an outsider to fix that broken establishment.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Ambassador Haley, would you like to respond?
I mean, when it comes to China and Taiwan, the one way that we keep China from going into Taiwan is, one, make sure that we win in Ukraine, that we protect our friends, but also let China know that they'll be hell to pay if they go into Taiwan. They need to know that there is going to be a force that's going to go against them. And they need to know it's not just going to be the United States. That is why we need to build our partnerships with India, with South Korea, with Japan, with the Philippines, with Australia. We need to start pulling that alliance together. And the first way we do that is we need to make sure that on day one, we look at the fact, if China pulled the rug out from under us tomorrow, would we be ready? Think about what happened during COVID. Everybody told you to wear a mask. They were made in China. Everybody told you to take a COVID test. They were made in China. Everybody went and, I mean, everything that happened, if you go to the drugstore, all those medicines are made in China. We have to make sure that we are not relying on
the
China
actual
for
virus
anything related to our national security, which means let's start focusing on doing deals with our friends now.
Thank you, Ambassador. Governor Christie, I'd like you to weigh in on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think arming every family in Taiwan with an AR-15 is a plausible policy?
Exactly.
I don't think we have constitutional authority over Taiwan to give them a Second Amendment. I think they can only do that for themselves. But look, I want to be really clear. Once again, I want to play the role of actually answering your question, which is if China went after Taiwan, you're absolutely right. I would, as president, have us go militarily and defend them.
More wars! Yay,
Secondly,
war!
I'm not afraid, based upon those economic relationships, to do that, because these economic relationships mean nothing. Nothing if what's going to happen is that China is going to come and act in that region of the world however they see fit. It's not right. And I'll say this about what I heard from Nikki earlier. She said that Donald Trump was good on trade. He wasn't. And the proof that he wasn't good on trade with China is that all he did was impose tariffs, which raised the prices for every American. You want to know what has contributed to inflation in this country? Yes, it's more government
about
spending.
Trump right now,
yes,
you
it's
idiot.
the fact that we're printing too much money. Absolutely, but it is also the increase in prices that were driven by Donald Trump's tariffs. And one last thing. You can't say he was good on trade.
They let him talk too much.
He didn't change one Chinese policy in the process. He failed on it.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Governor DeSantis, switching subjects
topic was
here.
Trump, apparently.
For 15 years, Republicans have been burned by politicians' promises to repeal Obamacare. Trump repeatedly promised to replace it with, quote, something terrific, but failed to propose anything. You're now promising something better. But Florida has more uninsured people than almost any other state. Why should Americans trust you more than any other Republicans who've disappointed them on this issue?
Well, I think we have millions of Americans who do not have access to affordable health care. And it's not just getting some type of card and Medicaid, because a lot of times they don't even get access to doctors. You actually get access to care. The other thing is we have millions and millions of people who don't have access to good doctors and good hospitals. Florida did not expand Obamacare. I think the states that did that, I think are struggling financially. So that, yes, we declined to do that. And I don't think that that was the right policy to do. But we are going to go after the cost. You're paying too much for everything. We've actually addressed this in Florida in some ways, but you need price transparency. You need to hold the pharmaceuticals accountable. You need to hold big insurance and big government accountable. And we're going to get that done. I think it's very, very important economically. I think it's very, very important for the country that we get that done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to, this is a very personal issue to our family. I wanted to take actually a minute to recognize my wife who's here today. Badass surgeon. She did a bunch of cases with cancer survivors earlier today, flew here to be tonight. We'll be back at 7 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow, taking care of those patients in the OR. And on the front lines of people who have actually not swallowed for years. And here's what's something that's awful that's happening in our healthcare system.
What?
They'll pay for anything like feeding tubes, doctors to be pill pushers, but for the procedures that can actually make these patients better, we have a broken healthcare system that doesn't pay for it. My wife, Apoorva, in many cases, does not get paid for those procedures. She does them anyway because it's the right thing to do. But that does not work system-wide. So here's the answer. We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system. We need to start having diverse insurance options in a competitive marketplace.
That's a Marianne Williamson line.
Preventative medicine, diet, exercise, lifestyle, and otherwise. And
but she is right on that. So
end the antitrust exemptions for health insurance companies. That's where the competitive marketplace begins. That's crony capitalism, and that's the answer.
Okay, through Operation Warp Speed, the Trump administration and private industry developed a COVID vaccine in record time.
No, don't freeze.
No, what happened? It's them. Oh, right after Operation Warp Speed and Big Pharma? Okay.
That's a little convenient, don't you think?
That's a little sus. Watch, it's going to be sponsored by Pfizer. Please enjoy this break.
Wow.
I'll try not to fix my teeth.
She was about to question the vaccine, and this is what happened. And that has never been questioned in debate after debate after debate. And I've never seen this happen before in a debate. Have you? Has anyone?
No, I haven't seen this. But it's like supposedly on Rumble, right? So like it shouldn't be, but
yeah, but
like shouldn't be.
They're just
right. Well, they better say, okay, we had a technical difficulty. Let me repeat the question, because if they just like
behind. Loomis said they're on a commercial because we're like maybe a minute behind. We rewound.
Oh, okay.
Look at this though. How long?
So that's at least like a minute. We'll be right back.
Commercial. Yeah, more than that.
Text stairs. Shut up. That's so funny. Stupid. Is this RNC? This must be an RNC ad.
Now to get yours before they sell out for good.
Oh God.
Mid-sentence.
Yeah, they better come back to that question because that's
They won't. I bet you they won't.
I know that's probably like one of the single most important questions that's lasted, not like a current event question, but it's like, you know, since 2020, obviously that's been like a medical freedom question. It's been they were just talking about healthcare too. And I'm seeing a lot more ads for autoimmune disease medications like all the time now. I'm like, how are they affording to put these ads up everywhere?
To get your exclusive Golden Elephant Pin. The Golden Elephant Pin shows that you are a top supporter of the GOP, but there are only 25 left in stock. Hurry, text the number on your screen now to get yours before they sell out for good.
Are you going to be at AmFest? Did I already ask you?
Yeah, I don't think so. Are you?
Yes, I am. I'm excited, but
did we freeze or did they freeze?
It's like in 2 weeks. I don't know.
I'm just gonna reload it.
Are we paused or is it just frozen?
Wow.
Did you know the government can essentially
What is going on?
Plain sight?
Very strange.
Former Fed Chair Alan
Are we gonna?
deficit spending?
Where are the MyPillow commercials? That's what my question is. I missed the MyPillow commercials. I want that crackhead yelling at me.
Birch Gold Group has helped thousands of
Is anyone else
Americans
just sick of
diversify
Republicans? They
their
are Democrats.
IRA
Is anyone not? Is the
into
question.
gold.
I don't know anyone
To get a
who's
free
not.
kit from Birch Gold. Text
Really?
now to
I don't know if you saw earlier in the parts, Granny Pants, but Vivek said some pretty edgy things.
Oh, got the vax!
Not the vax. Oh no. Not Rumble dropping dead right on stage. Not Rumble clutching its heart and saying, we'll be right back. What is going on?
That is a very convenient time for this to happen.
Do you think like literally what other, I'm trying to think of they've covered some controversial things, but nothing as controversial as that.
Final question before closing statements, and we want to get you all in, so we're going to give you 45
Are you
seconds for this
serious?
last one. Governor Christie, we're going to start with you.
Are you serious?
Which former president would you draw inspiration from for your own presidency, and why?
Wow.
What president?
Inspiration from
Fuck
Ronald
your
Reagan.
Are you fucking
in
kidding
the last
me?
Wow.
Year, I've spent a lot of time writing a book about
With
President
Bush?
Reagan.
Gives
Which
a
we call
fuck?
Ronald
Oh my
Reagan
God,
did.
they could
That
not have
book's
to
gonna come
talk
out
about
early in
Reagan.
2024.
Wow.
And what I learned
That's
more than anything
insane.
else was that Ronald
That's
Reagan
actually
was
insane.
a slave to the truth. Ronald Reagan stood up for the truth.
Interesting
whether
way
was
of
popular
putting
or
it.
unpopular at
Tell
the
that
moment.
to Iran
In
Contra.
1964, he stood up against the John Birch Society when it was very
Reagan
unpopular
was
in
a
the party to do
slave
it,
to the
but he
truth.
would not put up with our party standing for lies.
He wasn't even
and
alive,
deceit,
and
even it gave him political progress. That's the kind of president that I will be, and I would draw that inspiration.
That is
from the 40th president of the
unbelievable.
United States.
Oh, I am Reagan, blah, blah, blah. Shut
Ambassador
up.
Haley?
You're not. You
Well,
ate
I have to
Reagan.
say, too, I think George Washington, when you look at the responsibilities he had of how do you go and take on this great American experiment and make sure that the people are protected. And they always knew that government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of
What
people.
the
It was never
hell?
meant to be all things to all people.
Wow,
And then you
that's
look at
crazy.
Abraham Lincoln, and you look at the challenges, and you look at the division that happened in our country, and the ability to lead in spite of the loud noises and say, what will bring out the best in people to get us to go forward is always something that's important. And I think we need that now more than ever.
Governor DeSantis.
Reagan, Washington, Lincoln, excellent. One of the guys I'll take inspiration from is Calvin Coolidge. Now, people don't talk about him a lot. He's one of the few presidents that got almost everything right. He understood the proper role of the federal government under
And he didn't grow the government.
We need to restore the U.S. Constitution as the centerpiece of our
That's a good
national
answer.
life. And that
That's like a
requires
nerdy answer.
president
Good
who
answer.
understands the original understanding of the Constitution, who has a good sense of the Bill of Rights, and who knows how we've gone off track with this massive fourth branch of government this administrative state, which is imposing its will on us and is being weaponized against us. So Silent Cal knew the proper role of the federal government. The country was in great shape when he was president of the United States. We can learn a lot from Calvin Coolidge.
I thought he said Silent Cal.
Over to you, Mr. Ramaswamy, to conclude our history lesson.
Sure. Well, I will say Ron picked a president who was born on July 4th. I'll pick one who died on July 4th. It's Thomas Jefferson. He was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. And you all are sitting on a swivel chair today. He invented the swivel chair while he was at it, while writing that Declaration.
I want to hear about Operation Warp
That's that founding spirit that we miss, that we're the pioneers. We're the explorers, the guy who sent him out on the Lewis and Clark expedition. And I think a lot about what would Thomas Jefferson say to today's Republican Party. And I think one thing he'd remind us of,
is what he'd say.
I think it is one of the interesting ideological discussions we're having in our party is freedom of speech. You get to express your mind freely, no matter how heinous.
Okay, I'll say that.
Understood that.
Yeah, but ironic.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy.
I know, right?
It's time for closing statements. Governor Christie, would you like to begin?
Sure, thank you. I want you all to kind of picture in your minds Election Day. You'll all be heading to the polls.
He looks so old.
And that's
like
something
age,
Donald
like
Trump will
10
not
years.
be able to do.
Breaking news,
because he will be
died
convicted
on
of
July
felonies
5th.
before then, and his right to vote will be taken away. You know, look, here's the bottom line. You can boo about it all you like and continue to deny reality. But if we deny reality as a party, we're going to have 4 more years of Joe Biden. When my colleagues here raised their hands and said they would support him, even if he was a convicted felon, the bigger problem with it is—
Oh my God, he's talking about Trump. Are you serious?
American people. If you're
oh my God,
Trump,
get a life.
Others will see that timidity. Xi, Putin, and the Ayatollah.
Oh my God.
The crossers on the southern border and the criminals in our streets. They'll sense that timidity and they'll take advantage of that failure of leadership. We need to get back to an old American idea that every person is responsible for their own conduct, even a president.
Oh my God.
I'll be the kind of president who has the humility that knows that you work for the people. It's not the other way around. I will earn your trust.
Are you going to cry? Is he having a stroke? What's going on?
Christie. Mr. Ramaswamy.
Go to sleep.
I'll use this to just address a topic we didn't talk about tonight, but I think is one of the most important topics
that needs to be
discussed. That is this climate change agenda that is shackling this country like a set of handcuffs. I said it at the first debate and I stand by it. The climate change agenda is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. That's what we have to see. 98% reduction in climate disaster-related deaths in the last century. 8 times as many people are going to die of cold temperatures this year than warm ones. Yet against that backdrop, there's an issue coming up in Iowa. It's core to Iowa farmers. I met Kim Junker, Kathy Stockdale, and other farmers who are about to have a carbon capture pipeline built across their land using eminent domain to do it. That's unconstitutional and it's wrong. And if you thought COVID was bad, what's coming with this climate agenda is far worse. We should not be bending the knee to this new religion. That is what it is. It is a substitute for a modern religion. We are flogging ourselves.
He hasn't said any
life, bowing to the silly god of climate, and that will end on my watch.
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador Haley.
That's coming up. Thank you.
Like he's bringing up all the hard-hitting topics. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much. Our country is in chaos.
Ew, why did they get to her last?
Southern border. We see it in on our streets and our cities. We see it on college campuses. We feel it with our economy, with inflation and with debt. And we feel it around the world with wars in Europe and within the Middle East.
That I want to start more of.
You have to stop the chaos, but you can't defeat Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. And that's what Donald Trump gives us.
Y'all, next debate,
my approach is different.
Game.
No drama.
Or bingo card.
No
for the Dem debates. If they have any, they won't have any. Never mind.
I envision an America where we're protected from illegal immigration and Chinese infiltration. I envision an America where we unleash our economy and we reject socialism. But more importantly, I envision an America where we rediscover our national purpose and our pride.
Thank you.
I crush Joe
That's
Biden.
Vivek's line.
And if you give me this chance, we will crush him in November and take our country back.
Governor.
Go to Nikki
Thank
Haley.
you, Ambassador Haley.
Okay, they gave to fancy class. Okay, come on, Ronnie boy. Give it to him.
Jeopardy of being the first generation of Americans to leave to our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. I refuse to sit idly by and let that happen. But we got to have people that are going to be willing to fight the people that are doing this to us. You can't be these establishment Republicans that just cave at the first sign of opposition. I'll fight for you. We also need to win again as a party. Yes, win the election, which we've struggled to do, but also win on these big issues. And nobody has defeated these people more than what I have done in the state of Florida on issue after issue.
Facts.
We have won, and we have won big, and that's what we'll do for you. We also need leadership. Leadership is not about doing what's easy. It's about being willing to set out that vision, knowing they're going to shoot arrows at you. They're going to come at you. I will fight the good fight. I will keep the faith, and I will finish the race. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, all of you. To all of you. Thanks for watching. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
I gotta say, I think I am on board with DeSantis, Ramalama Ding Dong.
Yeah. With Vivek, or Ramasantis.
That was good. That was
really good.
Than every debate combined.
That was good. And you know what I appreciate too is like Vivek, even though he was kind of all over the place to a certain degree, he didn't give any filler answers. You know what I mean? Like he brought up hard-hitting things that he knows he's going to get pushback on at every turn. He talked about, I forget, were they directing the Vax question at him or who? Because they didn't let them speak. Who was it? Or was it a general? Did they choose the answer or yet? Because I thought they were directing it at Vivek, but I'm not sure. But that's the question of the night is what did they say for that answer? I wonder if it will be on Rumble.
We've been watching Rumble.
God.
I wonder if they know that it was cut off. So yeah, that was obviously intentional. I've never seen such a thing ever.
Yeah.
It's about Operation Warp Speed.
I didn't think it was intentional until they came back and skipped over it all and didn't say, hey, yeah, it's like, that's sketchy as F. Okay. Who are your winners and losers?
DeSantis, Vivek. I am so on board.
Yes.
I like that they were kind of not going after each other. Like,
Same.
I don't know who would be like, and this whole time I've said Vivek is not trustworthy. I don't buy it. He's too slick, but I don't see somebody better. Like he's kind of over. DeSantis, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. He continued from what he did with the Newsom debate. Kind of scripted sometimes. Just please throw out the fucking script. You don't need it. Like he's horrible when he gets on these scripted talking points.
And he starts like fumbling his words and like stuttering a little bit. Yeah. DeSantis killed it tonight for sure. For me, I agree. DeSantis and Vivek were both the winners. I think the biggest loser tonight was Haley for sure because she had the most to lose. Like obviously Christie's
got to lose some pounds.
Yeah, Christie is also the biggest loser in many ways, but he wasn't going anywhere anyway. So it's like he just stayed where he was. But he honestly, that show would be made for him. But Nikki Haley just went like this to me. Like, I think they just took out all the momentum out of her campaign. Like, she was on a roll a little bit, even though I didn't agree with her, but she was on a roll. And I think Haley just crapped the bed, especially because she doesn't like put any emotion into anything. She's always like, I don't agree with, and then she'll get like a little bit angry sometimes that it doesn't translate well. So definitely biggest loser was Haley tonight. And watch what the media says. I bet you anything the media is going to be like, she girl boss slayed those answers where she's like, he's just mad that he's losing, or he's jealous that I have those donors, or like she was so bitchy. Like it was just bitchy. That's the only way I could describe it.
I love that he called her out on the strong woman shit.
Yes. I know. I literally wrote that down. Indian name. And yeah, he's like, learn how to pronounce my name and then I'll call you Nikki. That's hilarious. And I give him points for that.
Mike is on the Vivek train now. I'm on the Vivek for VP train. I am DeSantis Vivek right now. And seeing them together tonight, like, I think that could be a thing.
Yeah, they have some.
DeSantis just keeps going with how this went and how the last one went. He has got a much better chance than people think.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I think people were hoping that a lot of the fair weather supporters of DeSantis that hopped on the Nikki Haley train we're kind of hoping that like, okay, Nikki's now going to be our star to take down Trump and take down Biden, or like basically work as Biden. But now I think maybe some of them will come back to DeSantis, or who knows. But it's yeah, she crapped the bed tonight for sure. So.
And I love it. I love it. It was just, you know what I love about Megyn Kelly too? She's not a drama killer. A lot of these moderators are drama killers.
Yes.
If the moment there's any conflict, so no, we can't talk over one another. No, I hate that.
Megyn was actually asking the questions that like we talk about, or like people outside of like service talk about, the ones that aren't just trying to win elections. Like everyone's actually been talking about these culture war things, immigration, the wars, all that stuff. She's asking like the hot button questions for each candidate, you know? So she didn't hold back. And I thought Megyn gets an A+ for me for that. I don't think they needed the two other moderators at all. I think it should have just been Megyn. They didn't need the Marvels, basically. You know, they could have just stuck with Captain Marvel, Miss Megyn, but instead they gave her two sidekicks with brunette hair. So it's like, okay, but they should have just stuck with Megyn. Both Nikki and Fatty got negative 500 points for their answers on the gender stuff. Those were such cop-outs. Those were such unbelievable cop-outs to say, we as Republicans, blah, blah, blah. No, that's complete horse crap.
There's nothing that pisses me off more. I can't stand when people on the right go on this 1980s talking point about, well, government should get involved. Where is government not involved? You're going to have to involve it to turn things back.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of the younger conservatives and libertarians are speaking on now, is that like the government has exploded in growth and reach beyond the point where we're going to be like, oh, let's just shrink the government and hope for the best. That's not really happening anymore. So we have to be able to take those reins and use them and like wield that power responsibly, but wield it nonetheless. Like it's complete. Oh, it's such a cop out, and it's why we lose. It's why we lose 1,000%. So
and
I don't know.
They don't want to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Because they'd rather just like rest on their laurels. And then I also wrote down a word salad is the only salad that Chris Christie gets close to. So that's his answers. You know, when he says, well, let me be clear, he's going to be like completely opaque. So it's like, all right, good job. Some of my favorite things from DeSantis, his answer on China, obviously gender care, universities,
Sorry, David, I was say, bye, Rick. Thank you for being here. Have a good one.
Bye, Rick. Thank you for joining. This was fun. And then DeSantis did good on collusion. That was good. He did good on universities, did good on the cartel. He did good, really good on saying if they're harvesting votes, we need to be harvesting votes. We need to be using the tools at our disposal. Scott Pressler is really good at doing that. And then Vivek was great for fentanyl, being beholden to donors, foreign wars, January 6th, the election. Like, look at all the topics he brought up. You know what I mean? He brought up the 2020 election. He brought up January 6th. He brought up the gender politics, ID politics, them being puppets about this shit. And then at the end, what did he bring up? Oh my God, what was that like last thing he said that was also like a hot button issue?
Climate change agenda.
Climate change. He brought up climate change too. So he honestly, he's not afraid. And that's very, very attractive because we are in this. And he brought up freedom of speech too. That's another point for him. So him and DeSantis are basically tied. I have one more point for Vivek because he brought up more of those hot button issues. But DeSantis killed it. DeSantis got 20 points for me. And then Vivek got 21. Nikki Haley got negative 17. And then Fatty got negative 11. So,
Megyn Kelly has a post debate starting in a bit. Leah, you must be an insomniac because you're always like, I'm going to bed, but then you just miss us. I think you can't leave.
Hi, Leah. Thank you. You're so sweet.
Someone needs to hire David as a political analyst. He's totally brilliant. I agree. He is the greatest. Oh my God.
A lot of fun.
I'm just like, whew. I'm interested to see what people are saying about that whole thing with the vaccine question and then it cutting out.
I know. I wonder. That has to be trending on Twitter specifically because it would be trending on Twitter. But Yeah, I wonder what their excuse is going to be for that. Like literally the only answer we didn't hear, and then we had to go around listening to them jerk off presidents that have been dead for 200 years. No, thank you. Let's talk about why people are dropping dead on stages and completely healthy young people are doing that. Instead, you're going to be like, oh, what's your favorite thing about Lincoln? It's like, come on. That sounds like a question from 2001. Like, it's just stupid. It's stupid. And it's like, it's condescending. It's like, it's patronizing. That's what it is. Especially when they just skipped over that thing. It's completely patronizing to be like, all right, no, let's just talk about our favorite. Damn. I bet if Vivek knew that they had cut out, I bet you anything he would have circled back to it and been like, well, let's talk about warp speed. So yeah, that was good. That was fiery. I'm pleased with that. You're right. Hands down, the best debate they've had this year so far. Maybe, you know what? Maybe they mean it was the last debate of the year because it's December, obviously. But I wonder because like people start voting in what, Vermont or something, or New Hampshire. So I don't know.
You're back. Don't touch your teeth. Well, this happens a lot in primaries that they'll say this is the last debate, but then they add more. So I bet there will be more.
Yeah.
For now it's the last one. Just as it's getting good. Come on, we need season 2.
I know. That was really good. And then especially leaving us with such a cliffhanger about warp speed and all of that. Like, I don't know, because I don't understand how they would, because I figured it was going to be a question that tried to make Trump look bad. But I wonder what, kind of really want to know what they said.
It's almost like I took the vaccine.
Oh, I wonder if the people that were actually in the audience will like talk about, or like, I'm sure they didn't allow phones, but I wonder.
Ooh, yeah, maybe somebody had one recording, or it'll probably.
Yeah, I wonder, or at least they're like their testimony or something, you know, from like being there, because I really want to know. I want to know what the answer was.
Whoever made that call, it's gonna be a Streisand effect. It's gonna be 10 times more of a shitstorm than if they would have just let the question be asked.
Exactly.
Apparently they showed that part on TV.
Oh, they did?
Do we have confirmation of that? Only Rumble didn't carry it.
Oh, interesting. So maybe it was like a tech thing, but where was it even? I don't even know what channel News Nation is. I think that's the channel that Chris Cuomo was on. I'm pretty sure.
Chris Cuomo has a channel again?
Yeah, he does. He has a talk show because he's been like slightly getting more towards like the middle and being critical of the Democrats and stuff. And then he said he could potentially vote for Biden. He doesn't know. So, or no, sorry, Trump, I mean. So I don't know. Who knows? But I'm curious to see what that answer is. So maybe it isn't a whole fucking conspiracy, but I guess we'll find out.
Interesting. Vivek said that the only problem with the vax was not being able to sue the companies. The only problem?
Right.
How about that?
That is a major one though, but definitely not the only one.
But
well, because frankly, if they were able to be sued, then the companies wouldn't have gone so hard pushing it on it. Because then you were essentially forcing people to take it, and then people are getting sick from it or having side effects. So then they would be able to sue. They would probably be less. Yeah, it's like that is a good answer, but definitely not the only thing wrong with it. Like, how do you not?
Diaries here. Oh yeah, the CW. It was live from the CW.
Oh my God.
CW carry that part. I forgot about that.
That is hilarious. The CW. I haven't watched anything on that since like Smallville when I was like 10.
I used to watch 90210 on there.
Like the rebooted one?
The rebooted one was so good. There was this bitch on there I loved her. She was, oh my God, Naomi Clark was a queen. Nobody here will know what I'm talking about.
No, I never watched it, but that's like me talking about the Real Housewives, and then Republicans just go dead in the face.
No. Like, about the Housewives of New York, not the new one.
That's right,
classic,
not the new one. Yeah. God, the new one is
no, I meant for one episode of that shit. But the old ones are coming back soon.
Oh yeah, they're doing the OGs for like on the island, like Scary Island Part 2, basically.
Yes.
So we'll see. Yeah, that should be interesting. So we're in agreement that Vivek and DeSantis won.
Yes. Sherry said, can I just say that I love seeing you two together again? So do I. I've missed you, David.
I love you. I know I missed you.
You've 100% upheld your reputation as being one of the greatest guests of all time.
Thank you. And I can't wait to get a clip of me freaking fixing my teeth like some sort of monster. It is Teethgate officially. Like, why didn't the Republicans talk about that? That's one of the biggest issues facing us right now. What is David doing with his teeth?
I always forget to do this, but now I'm not. So if you are watching this and you have made it this far into the stream, tweet us both. I am at not MIKEHarlow. He is at American David. Tweet us, #Teethgate.
Yeah. Yes, Teethgate. We need to know the truth. Okay. We need to know the truth. Yeah, exactly. I'm a Teethgate truther. Wow. Well, hopefully I can get some good get a funny clip from that, because that is freaking hilarious. Like, my friends are gonna roast me for that so hard.
That was amazing. Yes, we need to do this
Thank you,
again.
Esteban.
We need to get Chandler on here.
Oh my God, yes, that would be so much fun. Yeah, hello. Obviously, she's had all these like life updates that we didn't really know about. She's like, I've been in a movie, da, da, da. So yeah, we definitely should.
Yes. So what have you got coming up, David?
So I'm going to AmFest. I said that I'm collaborating with, do you know America's Frontline Nurses? That group, they like helped expose it's Nicole Kirotech. Yeah. I've been speaking with her, and we're going to collaborate on some stuff, because she's also working with children that have had side effects from gender care and all that stuff, like a 12-year-old with osteoporosis and just like horrible complications with like their surgeries and bottom surgeries and all of that. So we're going to be collaborating with them and Gays Against Groomers to put out more information to people and put out some more what's it called? Like things that can help people. Like, her organization actually helps pay for people's medical bills, helps pay for people's lawyers and stuff. So she does like tangible good work. So I'm super excited to collaborate with her. And I'm going to be slowly working on trying to make my own podcast. It's just like a lot of stuff I need to take care of and like buy. So I'm going to be doing that.
I want to be on it. Can I be on it?
Absolutely. You're going to be one of my very first guests. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God, speaking of special guests, my dad is in the chat. Hi, Mike.
Hello, Mr. Harlow.
Hi, Mike. Just wanted to let you know I've been watching. Hello to all your wonderful friends. Aw, thanks, Dad.
Gosh. No, that's amazing. Yeah, my dad actually walked in here because I'm like literally staying at my parents in Arizona until I go back to the disgusting weather in Washington. But he like literally like walked in here to like get something from their bathroom because I'm in their bedroom right now. And it's just funny. It makes me feel like I'm a teenager again.
Aw.
So that's
well, yes,
cute.
we need to do this again soon. David, like I said, y'all, he is just the greatest friend in the world. I appreciate you coming on so much.
You're so welcome. And thank you for having me. This was great. This was fun. I was probably going to watch this damn debate anyway, even though I didn't know it was on. So now all of my rantings and ravings are actually on video. Wonderful. And Teethgate. Teethgate. For serious, David? Wow. And I'm just like trying to pick this big ass piece of cilantro out of my mouth. Excellent. Such good optics. I love it. Wow.
It's because nobody has moderation with cilantro. If somebody's putting cilantro in something, they're putting the whole fucking cilantro bush.
A bucket. Yeah, exactly. Like the entire bushel. So it was cilantro with a side of soup. So yeah.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here. Chat friends, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back next week, probably. I'm working on like making this like a regular thing. So, and you better be back soon too, my darling.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do like a post AmFest thing, and I can give you all the dirty tea about behind the scenes, because I'm gonna have a press pass there. So I'm gonna try to get some cool sound bites from Tucker and Candace and everything. First question I'll ask Candace: thoughts on Ben Shapiro?
Oh yes, please do.
No, I'm just playing. But okay, I love you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you everyone for watching. You guys are amazing.
You guys are the best. All right, well, good night, everybody. #Teethgate.
All right, yeah, #Teethgate. I want to see those. All right, ciao, guys.